Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show today. It's a very rainy day for me. Hopefully, it was a good day for you. Hopefully, you guys had yourself a good weekend. I have Sunday though, Ben. I don't get a weekend. I have a day. Do you get weekends off, or are you a slave to the desk as well?
I'm kind of like permanently on call, and there tends to
Yeah,
always be something happening in my space. So, yeah. And then, with all the kids and stuff like that, I'm lucky if I get an hour and a half at the end of
yep,
the day or something to myself. So, yeah.
yeah. I know how that is too. When I was in Hawaii, I was on call 24/7, 365. Yeah, yeah. And kids are kids. You got little ones as well. That adds a
Yeah,
lot more to it. My kids are out the damn house, dude. I'm free. I got my wife back.
that's amazing. I'm
Mhm.
eagerly looking forward to that when I get a little bit older. But it's not too bad. I'm currently on a beach right now, watching my kids swim in the ocean. So, I can't really beat that. I'm on the other
Oh
side of the
no,
world.
it's
I'm
freaking
in your
awesome.
time zone now.
Yes,
So,
you are.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't. No, that's awesome, dude. Kids are great, and I suggest everyone to do it. But you remember how when you were young, before you had the kids, and you and your wife, we don't talk about our wives in any particular way, of course, but you know how you kind of find every spot in the house and indoctrinate it.
Yeah, christen it, as it
Yes,
were.
yes, christening. Yes, christening. And then
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
come,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that stops. You become ninja stealth people, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, every married person understands that, but when the kids leave the house, you become young again. It's weird.
Oh, that's nice.
It
No, it's
is.
not weird. It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's awesome.
What we all aspire to. Yeah.
Yes, it's something to aspire to. That's right. But I'm going to go over here and click that like button and share. Hopefully, you guys are going to do the same. We do appreciate it. Lets people know we're on and they can come over and join us. And we like to have as many as possible in our little group here to join us and get involved with the conversation and have some fun. I I never expected, Ben, that I would be a YouTuber. And my son, he assures me I'm not. He's like, "Dad, you're a streamer." I'm like, "Okay." I'm not technically a YouTuber. It's fine. But I never thought I would be doing that. But I can't say how happy I am to have a little teeny community, though. I do like this aspect of it, and I like the fact that YouTube throttles me. It actually helps.
In what way does YouTube throttle you? Like,
Well,
are you talking about like?
I don't know exactly the I'm sure it's the algorithm. It has nothing to do with some person. I would be surprised. But no, I must have said or done something. Because every time I get to 1,000, I automatically lose like 80 to 100 people every single solitary time. Yeah,
Oh, I
like
mean,
clockwork.
that's probably just like bots, being removed and stuff like
Uh
that.
huh.
That's
Uh
pretty
huh. Uh
regular.
huh. Like
So,
yeah, it's beyond coincidence, my friend. It's every single
sure.
time,
All
Ben.
right.
Every single time.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. But I mean that's not. But I'm not complaining. I actually like it. I don't need that. I'm not going to
Oh, okay.
monetize anyway. I don't care anything about that. I'm very happy to have my little community because my purposes here are just to be able to speak English and because living over here, right well, you don't get to speak English much unless you talk to a foreigner, right? And there are hardly
Exactly.
no foreigners here anymore. Not like you're back in your time. So
Yeah, Psyche's kind of had a great, not purge exactly, but a from what you've told me and what others have told me, like there's been a
yeah.
bit of an exodus of the foreigner community. So,
And I'm sure you recognize this when you were here. The the people themselves don't mind foreigners around most of the time if they're not noisy.
yeah,
But the government, the people working in the government, they really, really hate the jet program. They hate it. I don't know exactly all the reasons why, but they do. And there's a little bit of jealousy there. I think you should get these little kids come over and they get 3 grand a month or more, and they don't like it. They don't think it's fair. But yeah, there's a lot of animosity toward the jet program. So I guess they won, I suppose.
yeah, it's really unfortunate too, like because it's basically from the perspective of why are we having our tax dollars pay foreigners, right?
Hmm.
And part of the reason for that is because there are a lot of private English schools.
Sure.
So they're like, why isn't this just privatized and stuff? But a part of the benefit of the CHED program is like, my position where basically I traveled around to a bunch of small schools out in the boonies where, they didn't have easy access to private, foreign classes and English, second language classes and
That's
stuff,
true.
right? So like there is a legitimate benefit. Like most of the JET program is designed to send foreigners out to locations that it is not easily accessible for English
That's
language
right.
teachers.
That's right.
So they don't use the JET program in heavily populated areas like Tokyo or Fukuoka or stuff like that, where yeah they do have a robust access to foreign language teachers, right? So it really was designed for like small farming communities, and I think it was good in that.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree. But there was just jealousy. Bureaucracy is bureaucracy. Yeah, they have murderlated it. And from talking to some of, I've actually made a few friends throughout Japan who own eikaiwas like I do, and they've seen the same thing happen in their areas, even in the bigger area. I got one guy who runs he actually has three schools now. He's chained out, and he's in Osaka. It's just across the board, across Japan. They've been kind of wiping out the JET program. But whatever. It's it helps me, you know. So I guess I think it was nicer to have more around, though. It's good for the community, but because now what do we got? We got a bunch of Bangladeshis, we got a few Indonesians, and then a bunch of gee, I'm not sure exactly what they are. Some things, but they don't seem to make trouble though, so it's all good. Oh, Nepalese, that's what we have. Oh, dude, Nepalese curry and or masala, be more accurate, and non bread is way better than the Indian one, man. Just for FYI. Hey, Grimlock, what's up, dude?
Nothing much.
Did you have your?
Nothing much. Enjoying the Sunday, man.
Well, how was your weekend?
Peaceful and quiet. Got to watch some good hockey.
Ooh,
Um,
hockey.
yeah.
Is it hockey time?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. I never really
The
watched hockey. I played it when I was a kid on the ponds, but I never actually watched hockey. But I didn't know hockey would still be going on. I suppose they must be coming to their what is it? The Stanley Cup? Is that the
yeah, it's almost it's the Eastern and Western Conference Finals.
Oh, there you go. You coming into the final run. I get it. I get it. Oh, that's cool, dude. Well,
Yeah.
yesterday was my day off, and
Ah,
I spent a very, very quiet day with my wife. It was awesome.
sounds good.
Yeah, yeah, nice,
that sounds like
quiet.
a good time.
It is a good time, dude. Quiet and got a lot of reading, and she was doing stuff. It's just one of those nice, peaceful, quiet days. I enjoyed it, because she's often dragging me around. I'm the driver, right?
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm going to drop. My kids are screaming at me to get in the ocean, so I'm going to go swim in the ocean. I will talk to you cats later.
Please do. Have a good time, man.
Whatever.
Later, man.
All right, later,
Um,
peeps.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Ben is
Yeah.
visiting his wife's family in Australia. He's on vacation, so
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he is I don't know. I want to go to Australia, but I don't want to go to Australia at the same time. They have a serious fly problem in Australia, dude. They're just all over the place. And I don't like flies around me all the time, Grimlock. Are you
Uh,
cool with that or not?
not fond of flies. I don't think I know a single person alive who is.
Yeah.
So
That's the main reason I stay
yeah,
away. I suppose if I did some research and found the time of year where they're not around, because they do have a winter kind of, so
yeah.
they must be better in that time. Maybe that would be the time to go. Because I wouldn't mind to go out and see Ayers Rock, or what am I supposed to call that now? Uduru. Yeah, no, I'm going to call
I
it.
have no idea. I know jack squat about Australia.
Well, you know Ayers Rock, though. You know that. That big old red
Well,
rock sitting in the middle of a plane.
yeah, I don't know if I'd fly halfway around the world to see a rock in the middle of a plane.
True, but you might, because here's the interesting thing about no, here's the seriously interesting thing about Ayers Rock. It's a gigantic rock. It's just a big rock. But we know geologically that thing got kicked out of the Himalayas, flew up in the atmosphere, bounced twice on the land that is called Australia. We can still see the bouncing area and landed and came to a stop where it is. That's how that got there. Literally got ejected from the Himalayan mountains somehow, flew through the freaking atmosphere. How far? Thousands of miles, bounced twice on the continent, denting it, and then landing where it is. And it's tough enough stone that it survived that and it skid like skipping a stone on the water is what happened. Now that's all
Yeah.
geological science. It's done. We know that's what happened. Now, of course, scientists will say it happened a billions and trillions of years ago. You know how they are. Everything's got to be
Yeah.
long, long ago. Well, the problem is the Aboriginals peoples. They have a story
hmm
about it. God sent it to them because they saw the fucking land. So, if that's true, then that happened way more recently, right?
Could you imagine being outside, like just outside minding your own business, and a massive rock comes flying in your fucking direction?
A city block. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, right? But so it is a pretty interesting rock, to be honest with you. But but you're supposed to call it ururu now because that's the native word for it. Although, and the funny thing is, I got a girl in my class. And she's a junior high school girl, and her parents are worldly, and they decided they were going to name their daughter after that. So literally, I have a girl in my class whose name is Ururu.
Yeah.
Yeah, quiet. So sad, dude. Whatever. But parents do weird shit, dude. Yeah. Do you have kids, right?
No.
No, you
No.
don't. Okay, you don't. Do you want kids?
I go back and forth with that.
They are great, dude.
I,
Kids are great. If you can
it's
find a
like,
good
hey,
woman,
you look around. Sometimes you look around and go, it wouldn't be bad to have kids. And then you start looking around a little further. It's like, nah, they're fine where they're at.
nah, I get you. I get you. I mean, because it is a responsibility. There is an
Oh
actual
yeah.
job there. But if you go into an understanding that, hey, I got a responsibility here, I got work to do, and you do that work, you're good. I mean, it's just about
Oh yeah.
acknowledging it, really. But I think more important than the most important thing is having a good woman, though. If you have a good
Oh yeah.
woman that you can share the load with and move forward in life together, kids are awesome, dude.
Yeah.
It is very fulfilling because I truly believe, Grimlock, that we have different phases in life. And what a shame not to allow yourself to experience all of those. Because the last three of those are kids, grandparenting, and then death, right? And these are all part of the human experience. Well, they are though, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame that we see so many people these days are missing out on the last three. Well, the last two, sorry. The Because being a parent and then being a grandparent, which I haven't got to the grandparent part yet. I'm close, I'm sure. It's just part of the life experience. So I would strongly advise you if you can find a good woman, uh, that you do have kids. Because you don't want a shit woman in doing that, though. You don't want to do that. That's the mistake.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, anyway, Grimlock. So we're going to get into today's stuff. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's
Sweet.
go.
Let's go. All righty. Here. What do I got? I got it right here. So you're reading, I guess.
Let's see. Our comprehension skills on display.
Yes. Yes.
Oh boy, here we go. PC gamer, contributor, and Fantasy Flight Games designer calls Johnny Depp supporters Nazi adjacent. Of course.
Now, I put this up here as a lead-in, but before I get to the lead-in, finally the stupid trial is done, but it's not done because people are still talking about it, and now they're talking about appeals. What is the fascination over there with this Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, dude? Who gives a shit about a couple of stupid ass celebrities? I mean, what the hell?
Well, Part of it is a big well because it puts a massive dent in the whole Me Too crap.
Yeah, but
Because
it
the whole for the last 7 years, you had to hear believe all women. Whatever she says, just take it sight unseen and believe it. That all of this. It's basically 40 years of rhetoric that had been pushed out there that
second wave of feminism,
with
yeah.
this just fell flat on its face
Oh,
because for years men who have been in these situations that does not have Johnny Depp's profile or his resources had to hear for years is, oh well, that doesn't happen, and if it does, you're probably it's because you're not a real man. And it's like, well, pick a lane because they say under no circumstances should you ever hit a woman because if you do, even in self defense, you're some kind of subhuman animal. And then if you don't defend yourself and you allow this to go on, oh well, you're a bitch. So pick a struggle.
oh well, they got to win all around. Women must win. You know that, right?
Well,
That's how they
they
are.
took a they took a massive loss, and white women in particular are upset, and it warms the cockles of my heart.
Oh, I
It
get
really
it.
does.
I get it. Well, I mean, first of all, believe all people. I don't even need a gender identifier with it. Believe all people. Only a moron believes that. I mean,
Well,
honestly,
that's
only a moron believes that.
that's what they push. They've been pushing that they've been pushing that for quite some time now. I mean, I would say be glad you're not in the States for this kind of shit.
Yeah, no, Japan is more balanced in that respect. That is true. But I give you an example from my youth, though. It had nothing to do with me. I mean, well, I was next to it, I guess. But one of
Yeah.
my friends, right, we were hanging out in the Newport Creamier parking lot. I know that doesn't mean much to anyone outside of New England. But we're, kids at night, high school kids at night, young adults, where you go to hang out. In a little town, we hang out in parking lots, chat and stuff, and
Yeah.
drive our cars. Anyway, my friend was there, and he had a car, of course, and this girl was, got in the car with him with another dude, another, no, two girls, and then him got into the car, and she was sitting in the middle, and it's a little teeny sporty car, like a Miata type of thing, right? And they went driving around and stuff like that, and he finally took her home, and she got home late, right? Past her curfew. And her dad's like, "What the hell her dad was all pissed off because she's after curfew, and she panicked and she lied. She says, I was raped."
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to go through the entire court process, all that bullshit, because she didn't want to get in trouble with daddy.
Yeah. There was a similar story that happened some years ago. I'm surprised. I wasn't surprised that it didn't get the national press that it should have got. But there was a Muslim girl in New York who was dating a guy her parents didn't approve of.
Yes, sure.
So she's out. She's with this guy, and she comes home late, and instead of just fessing up to it, she was Jussie Smollett before Jussie Smollett because she said that she got harassed and robbed by Trump supporters on the subway.
Of course. Yeah.
And the parents went through this whole investigation, got the police involved, and found out there was no such Trump supporters, but there was this guy she wasn't supposed to be with. So as punishment, when everything was said and done, they shaved
Yeah.
her bald.
The parents, yeah, yeah, yeah. Those
Yeah,
Muslim parents don't play around. That is true. But
yeah,
because I understand the dad. I mean, I haven't had this happen to me, but because if your daughter comes home and says that, your father warpath brain turns on, right? You're
yeah,
on the warpath. You want blood, right? I mean, so it is something that women do often. And
yes,
and I understand that I hear people say that's very rare. 95% of all rape accusations are found to be unfounded. 95%. And it's actually probably higher
Yeah.
than that. So that means that most of the time women lie about that shit. That's the actual truth, right?
Yeah.
And we just two examples just rolled off the top of us like that. Luckily, he got off, and not because it was complete bullshit. There were literally 2 dozen freaking witnesses, right? That he didn't
Yeah.
do anything. So I mean, so he didn't get in trouble, but he had to go through the whole process and all that kind of nonsense just because she didn't want to get in trouble and take her punishment for being past curfew. It's insane, dude. It's insane. The disregard that so many women have for men. I
Yeah.
mean, women, they understand the power of it because they use it all. They use this ticket all the time, but yet they don't seem to have any compassion whatsoever for males.
No, because they've been taught that it's okay to not have to. It's
Yeah,
before when Kevin Samuels died, one point that he used to make was that there was a low key contempt and disrespect of men for modern women.
it is true.
Yeah,
It is
and
true.
they're taught to not see men in a positive light, and that started with second wave feminism, which is one of the worst things that happened in modern American history. Was second wave feminism.
Mhm.
I know right now there's some white women basically clawing at a chalkboard hearing me say that, but no.
No,
Whatever
it
positives
was
y'all might have gained out of it was so much worse.
yeah, there were more negatives than positives. That is true. But yeah, no, and it comes down into this. I've said this before, and people like get all red faced or turned looked at me sideways. Men are more emotional than women, plain and simple. Women are kind of cold. And this is another layer of proof of it. And the reason why
Right.
men are we display emotions differently. We choose different emotions to display, sure, but we are far more emotional than women, which is why we teach our boys to be strong and noble and to live a life of integrity and don't cry and all that kind of stuff. It's important to create a civilized male. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to have chaos, right? And I think this is part of it. I think women are just kind of more cold-hearted when it comes to that stuff because it's insane that you would do that to another human. I mean, would you ever do that to another human to put them in I mean, not only to absolutely destroy their life, their name, but also to potentially put them in prison where their life is threatened? I mean, just imagine doing that to another person for your own selfishness. Imagine the absolute self-loathing, dude. It's
It's
yeah.
uh, there's a lot of people who sees justification in that. I'm like Thundara. I'm a big supporter of the idea of reciprocity.
Oh yeah.
I won't fuck with you if you don't fuck with me. But a
Don't want
lot
no
of
shit, don't start no shit.
but a lot of people have been taught to be vindictive. And that was one of the things about the Me Too movement, is that it was a vindictive movement, and it unfortunately, like second wave feminism, hurt more people than it helped, because the women who really did go through some shit, who got abused and got,
And
was
bad things
basically run
happen.
through the
Yeah.
ringer,
Right.
and had a difficult time to get people to believe them.
Yeah. No,
Well,
no,
for
that's
every
true.
one of those,
That's
you
true.
had you got two or three Amber Heards out there, and it just makes things more and more difficult. But one of the big problems is, and this seems to happen. It seems to happen a lot when they have these kind of conversations. Is that um women will not call out other women for this fucking
But we
nonsense,
need them to too. That's really the
and
solution is women dealing with it, dude. I'm telling you.
they're too dedicated to that girl code shit. Oh, yeah, she's fucked up, but girls got to look out for each other. Okay.
You
You
know,
say that now, and 20 years later, it bites you in the ass, and that same girl you looked out for ain't coming to help you.
and it does seem to be, the majority are in that not all women, of course, but they're in the majority are in that camp. And which makes me because when I first heard about you got like the MGTOW and you got the other one too. There's
Yeah,
like two of those men's right things where they're just
yeah,
they're noping out of relationships and women altogether and just doing their own thing. When I first
yeah,
saw it, I was like, boy, that's stupid. But now, the
yeah.
more
But
as time goes by, I'm like, you know, women keep talking about their sexual boycott, but men can boycott too.
Yeah, and you know as well, men are practical thinkers. We'll look at something and go, okay, I want to get to that. I want to get to the other side of that hill. Okay,
Yeah,
there's a bridge here, but that bridge is cut off. So what does a man do? He finds a way around so he doesn't
sure.
have to worry about the bridge. Well, hey, look, as,
Yeah,
as much as men do want women,
of course we
and
do.
as Dave Chappelle had said years ago, a man's test in life is a woman. Um, if a man feels that the old saying, if the juice ain't worth the squeeze,
Right.
we're just like most practical thinkers are like, okay, we can do without this.
Yeah. Well, my
And a
logical
lot of men
mind,
are saying, yeah.
yeah, no, and my logical mind agrees with you and understands what they're doing. I don't have any of those burdens you just mentioned, though. I don't. My wife and I, we're kind of a perfect partnering, and I know I'm lucky, and I'm not trying to rub it in,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh no, no.
we just are. We've
I,
never had trouble. We just get along. Like yesterday, we literally sat in silence for most of the day, and we were perfectly pleased and happy, doing all the lovey kisses
yeah.
and the Sunday morning activities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Well, I tell people you're not rubbing it in. I'm like, shit. Be glad you're out the game.
yeah, no, but I'm just
Just
saying it's
wake up every day. You know, pat the wife on the butt and do a victory lap.
right,
I'm
yeah, but I'm just saying she's not the test of my life, and none of those things are true in my regard. Although I do understand it, though I'm not a fool. But anyway, let me try to get past this particular article here. But this fella, who I don't even know, I guess he's from Crazy Rich Asians, which was some kind of TV show that was popular, I guess. But he's also a contributor to PC Gamer, which I guess he's a writer, and he also is involved with Fantasy Flight. And he's basically called anyone who supports Johnny Depp a misogynistic Nazi agent psyop. Are you getting laid, brother? Are you getting laid?
he's not.
Yeah. I mean, in that money working for you? He said, my block list is millions. All right, Calvin, brother. If your block list is millions and you're actually putting this up as an achievement, you really have gone askew. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing, isn't it? I was trying to do my Bernie Sanders. I don't know if it came off. But Calvin. But I don't really give a shit about Calvin because I don't even know who the hell he is, nor do I care about his opinion at all. He's just a moron. Because that's a dumbass statement, dude. Did you not pay attention to any of that? I mean, I didn't watch the trial because I thought it was stupid, but I couldn't not hear what was coming out of it, and it's pretty damn clear. Seeing as she admitted the one being the one doing the violence. That's her own words, Calvin. But the thing that caught my eye, Grimlock, was the fact that he is a writer for Fantasy Flight Games. And you know how I like to start these shows off talking about board game stuff. So I
Oh
probably
yeah.
mentioned Fantasy Flight before, but I know I have. But I'm going to mention a little bit different light here. Now, Fantasy Flight started, oh goodness, 20 years ago or more, probably more. And originally, it was kind of like Amazon in a way, in a weird way, because Amazon started as a little bookstore. I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
was. It was a little bookstore, and it was convenient, and I used it. And now look at the damn thing, right? But Fantasy Flight was a book company, and they made little. You know how third edition D&D put out the open gaming license, right? The OGL.
Yeah.
And allowed anyone to, as long as they mention, and they use the core system, meaning you need the core book and stuff like that, or even not, that you could do whatever you want attached to their game system. And they were part of that surge. You had Green Ronin, you had Mongoose, there was a bunch of them, right? Fantasy Flight was part of that. And somehow or another, they went from making little OGL books for D&D, and they twisted themselves into not only a board game company, but the premier board game company. So you see the Amazon reference I'm getting at here? These guys are top of the line. They have full deals with Disney and it's tons of other IPs. These guys are the creme de la creme, and they make some amazing stuff. They really, really do. But over the past, so many years, they have definitely gotten on board that woke train, dude. Right? and we're seeing references and art and all kind of weird little odd things that just don't belong in what they're selling, right? And let's just take a look at their product list right here, because there is some really good stuff. And like I said, the production quality from Fantasy Flight is there is nothing better. There is simply nothing better. Maybe a cool mini or not. Yeah, they put out some really good stuff, and that's another company that started as one thing and became another. But look at some of the IPs we got here, right? We get Game of Thrones, and some of these board games. These are board games. I think they have a RPG as well. Are pretty good if you like those kinds of games. It depends on the person, right? Android is a card game. It's kind of I'm going to use the word magic. It's not really appropriate, but if you know Magic the Gathering, you'll kind of get the general
Yes.
idea of Android. That was a mega hit, dude. I mean, talk about tournament circuits and stuff like that. People making money playing Android, dude. Right? Big, mega IP. Right? Arkham Horror. They have the old stuff. I think is better than the new stuff, in my opinion, because they got too creative and tried to make simplify stuff. And Arkham Horror games, board games, are take forever to play, and that's the cool part of it. But if you enjoy Lovecraftian stuff, get some of the Arkham Horror, especially the old stuff. It takes time. It's a lengthy thing, dude. Matter of fact, you might want to find a corner in your house and just leave the ginormous board and everything set up there, and just take a month to finish it. But Arkham Horror, great role playing games. Tabletop role playing games. Cosmic Encounter, in the top 10 of best board games ever made. Plain and simple, done. It's great fun. It's a good party game as well because you can have a lot of people involved. It's just a fun little game. Keyforge, more modern, but Keyforge is another really good tournament type of game, and it's designed that way. Legends of the Five Rings. Need I say any more? I mean, come on, dude. You have an incredible amount of tabletop RPG stuff out of Legend of Five Rings, and of course, you have many people consider one of the very best deck building or trading card game type Magic the Gathering type stuff that exists. Legend of the Five Rings is absolutely amazing, and they just came out with a new generation a few years back, and it's just gorgeous, right? Ton of stuff from Marvel, ton of stuff from Star Wars. I mean, board games, card games, role playing games, etc., etc. Terranoth is a little bit of a spin off. Of course, everyone who knows what Terranoth is understands it. Descent, probably the best dungeon crawler type of board game you can play. And it's expensive, but it's amazing. Of course, they have a bunch of Lord of the Rings stuff. Twilight Imperium, man, um, holy shit, dude. This is another game that takes forever to play, but it's so in depth. You're literally creating your own. You ever play like Stellaris? You ever play Stellaris?
Um, no, I have not.
Okay. Well, or Sins of a Solar Empire or something like that. It's basically, I guess, an 8X game where you're kind of building your own little empire and you're kind of going out and trading resources and defending yourself or conquering or what have you. It's a 8X type of game. But this is in a board game version. It's insane, dude. It's freaking awesome. If you have the time or are interested to get your brain around that, because a lot of these things you kind of have to have a brain, Grimlock.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and you notice how many of these so-called game reviewers or video game reviewers or comic book reviewers, what do you hear them say a lot? What's a common thing that comes out of their mouth?
That comes out way too often these days.
Yeah,
Nazi.
not a Nazi, but also it's too hard.
That too.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into depth with anything here. I just wanted to point out that old Calvin here writes for Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight went from a little teeny OGL company into the premier board game company. Right now, there's a European one called Osmodee, which was
Yeah.
literally bought. They bought many companies and glued them together in Europe, is what they did. But basically, the funny thing with Osmodee is it's a parking lot business. They own parking lots across Europe, and they decided to buy board game companies, and they created it into Osmodee. So Osmodee is the big mega giant out of Europe, and Fantasy Flight's the big one in America. You got Plaid Hat, you got Stonehold, or Yeah, Stonehold Games and well, whatever. There's other ones, but the Fanny's Flight is the big boy. But the thing is, over the past so many years, you've seen a lot of this wokeness kind of creeping into the art, creeping into the dialogue. It's creeping in, and it just doesn't belong there. How in the hell does wokeness involve itself in Lord of the Rings at all? At all? It's just, it's literally like a gigantic wart in the center of Lord of the Rings. It doesn't belong there, right? It's
There's a
weird.
lot of things that seems to not belong that ends up in things nowadays.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weird. And just look at some of the other stuff. Like I said, they own a lot of IP, right? You got Discovery Lands Unknown. That's a fun little exploration game. Doom. I'm not a huge fan of the board game Doom. It's okay. I would do, if you want to do that, do Descent or Conan, or there's a whole bunch of other ones that are better. They got the Fallout
Yeah.
Shelter stuff. They got Fallout, which is better than Doom. Um, you also have Sid Meier, another Civ builder. You get this one isn't very good. Bloodbound, really fun little game, right? Dead of Winter, completely innovated a brand new mechanic in board games with this game, right? And
yeah,
it's basically a narrative deck that you've added to the board, and that narrative deck moves your story along with environmental things and attacks or surprises or all kind of little stuff. Very innovative, and each time a different story is being built because of that particular deck. And then you have all the other mechanics. It's basically Walking Dead, the game, is what it is, in winter. Okay. Drakon, it's a little game. Hey, that's my fish. If you got kids, buy that. And if you haven't bought it already, why not? That kids will go absolutely freaking ape over this game, dude. And I get why, because you have this big board and there's walls all over the place. It's like you're in this Iceland, right? And you got these walls that you set up randomly on the board in different patterns. And you have these little penguins, and they're rounded on the bottom and they're heavily weighted on the bottom so that they tilt, right? And
yeah.
you can flick them and spin them to move around corners or try to knock other people out of the. It's kind of bocce ball on the table in a way. But you also, if you get good at it, you can flip them and they'll go over walls. It's just a great little game for kids. Kids just lose their shit over it. Midnight Chronicles, nice little OGL campaign setting. Mission Red Planet, awesome, awesome fun. I'd say kids can play this, but it's not adult, meaning there's no kind of graphic content, but it's just I think more of adult brained. But if you got a bunch of friends, you like to have that Friday night where everyone comes over and you drink some wine or have some beer, just chat and enjoy couples night. Mission Red Planet, you should get on that. Let's see, Raxon Red November, it's okay. And of course, XCOM, the board game. Now, XCOM is a great RTS on the computer and on mobile too, by the way. XCOM is amazing. The board game is okay. But I just went through, look how many IPs they got, dude. Look at that.
It's a lot.
It's insane. And the problem is they've started woking everything up, and it's not good. And Calvin's part of the problem. Grimlock, freaking
Yeah,
Calvin, an
you will get
idiot
no
that calls
disagreement from me.
yeah, and an idiot that calls anyone who's a Johnny Depp supporter a Nazi adjacent. How? How does that relate in your little brain, Calvin? I mean,
Because they have been allowed to say shit like that with no consequence.
yeah, but
Because
here's the thing, though, Grimlock. We all know in the West how absolutely on the back end men are when it comes to anything involving women in court. Absolutely on the
doesn't
back end.
matter.
For the fact for him to win, that had to be so overwhelming, which it was, against her. He doesn't get an equal shot. There's no egalitarianism going on in the court system when it comes to men and women. That's not happening. So overwhelmingly, she had to be really bad guilty for him to win. And she was. So what are you doing, Calvin? Get your head out your ass, Calvin. Fucking Calvin. Anyway, let's move on from that. Something a little more fun. Go ahead, dude.
The house in Fata Morgana author pushes back after Western localizer boasts of rejecting inward knee female character designs for being unnatural.
Okay, so now knees are problematic.
Wait a minute. They're saying that pose right there is unnatural because I've seen a ton of people do that.
Yeah, and this isn't actually the. I have a feeling this picture is probably what triggered them, but they didn't want to complain about it. They complained not about another picture, it seems. But here's the thing: why do I have to keep explaining Oriental culture to everybody? Why is that, Grimlock?
Because we have some arrogant motherfuckers over here who
Uh,
think that they can tell other people what their culture is.
it seems so. Well, let me explain a little bit about the Oriental to you, and I'm speaking about the Mongoloid here, right? Okay, just so you
Yeah.
know. But our bodies are different, Grimlock, amongst the races. Did you know that? Yeah, of course you did. And
Yes, I've been told repeatedly. They have reminded me repeatedly.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
every little racial root group, and then even some of the hybrid groups in between them, they have their own advantages and disadvantages when it comes to their physical biology, and I'm sure mental biology as well. But we're not allowed to talk about that. But we do, and with the Asians, they have a little bit of an adaptation that the rest of us don't have. Their
yeah,
Achilles tendon is quite long and stretchy. And they can do something here. The Mongoloids, the Orientals, they can do something that the rest of us can't do. And I would challenge all of you to give it a try. Put your feet flat on the ground. Don't let your feet not be flat. They have to be completely flat, heel and ball, toes on the ground. And then put your ass on the ground at the same time. Go ahead and try. Yeah, you'll see that you're not capable of doing that. And the reason is because your Achilles tendon is too short to allow your feet to be flat and your ass to be on the ground. That angle, it just doesn't work because,
mhm,
anatomically, it cannot work. Asians, because of their longer Achilles tendon, however, can. So you can see all over the place in Asia, particularly China, they will be sitting flat footed and ass on the ground all the time. All the time, and you see it, and it becomes in your head. It's a very Asian image. It's something only Asians do because it's only they can do it. Now here in Japan, it's considered mega faux pas. If there was a little girl like this sitting on the street, any bachan or old lady walking by would yell at her because that is bad etiquette to do that in Japan,
yeah.
right? And I'm sure that's one of the creators making that point, right? Culturally. But this isn't even what they're upset. We're seeing a little bit of the ash round here on this freaking drawn cartoon that you're getting all upset about. It's not real, dipshit. But this is what they're upset about right here. Now, this right here, first of all, you're being what is it? Bodyist, a bodyist, picking on the pigeon toad. I mean, is that what this is? This person is picking
She's
on pigeon toed people. Is that what we're having here? A bit of bodyism?
wrong with it because I mean, for one, she's fucking clothed, so it's not like it's over. It's not like revealing or anything. So
No, no, they're upset about the knees. It's the knees they're upset about, Grimlock. The knees. These idiots.
there,
A- And have you ever seen a pigeon toed person, Grimlock? You ever
yes,
seen one?
there's a
Of
lot of
course you
them.
have.
Yeah.
And you don't think they're maybe conscientious about it in the West? You don't think maybe they got a little bit of sensitivity about their pigeon toedness? Huh. I mean, how insensitive can you be, shithead? I mean, honestly.
If that ain't first world problems, I mean,
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right.
God damn, go outside, turn
Do
off
something.
Twitter, do something with your life.
Yeah, I know, dude. But here's another thing, another little bit of cultural stuff that I have to teach for some reason over here, particularly in Japan. Although you see it all across the Orient here. But what you do is you see girls that will actually pigeon toe intentionally because they think it's cute. I haven't met a Japanese man who also agrees, but the girls, see, and all this fashion stuff, it has nothing to do with us. They say it does,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It's them. It's their choices, right? But a lot of girls over here will intentionally pigeon toe themselves because they think it's cute. So that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing because I recognize what I'm seeing. This girl is doing intention to be. I'm kawaii, right? That's what she's doing,
Yeah.
right? And this right here is showing that she's. It is very bad etiquette. This is screaming to you if you live in Japan. You understand that you should not be doing that, little girl. That is very bad. And I'm sure he put it in there for a reason. It's making a cultural point. But these idiots have decided, in their great wisdom, that we're going to cancel knees now. We're going to pick on the pigeon toed, and we're going to cancel the knees. So yeah, that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. Has Thundera made it in yet?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah. So what do you about it? What do you think about these now people picking on the pigeon toed? They're
Well, this is what
ableists.
happens when you validate the ridiculous argument that these radical so-called feminists have made, where you're not allowed to have big-titted women, right, sexy women, because they're unrealistic. So now they're just going to attack anything that they think is unrealistic, because if you validate that argument, if you allow it to gain sway, it's not going to stop. Once you give people the ability to bitch about something and change it, they're just going to keep bitching. That
Yep,
you've incentivized
that's
that
true.
behavior now, so that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of it. It's stupid. It's obviously stupid. It's kind of like, Chester, do you remember, I don't know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it might have even been 3 years ago now, when there was that hullabaloo about the Mary Jane, I think it was, the way she was sitting on a couch,
Oh,
Mary
geez,
Jane Watson.
that was over 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while back. And the way she was sitting, they kept saying was impossible. Nobody could sit like that. It's completely unnatural, was the
Right.
words they used.
Then
I sit like that literally all the time, and I'm a guy.
right.
All the
Well,
time, I can sit like
and
that.
he showed the photo that he referenced from it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. When you validate that argument, you're going to always get people that are this stupid. Because it's just going to keep regressing. It's a regression. It's a race to the bottom. And now we have an example of just utter buffoonery.
Yeah.
Just buffoonery
Right.
is what it is. Because I've seen in my own life, I've even seen my wife do the thing with she turns her knees in to try and look cute, right? It's something women do.
It is.
Every woman I've ever known has done it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what this person is on about, saying that this is this isn't normal. Well, no, it's not normal, but it's not unnatural.
No. And once again, it's this whole thing is about canceling women anyway, because they really hate women most of all. If you haven't noticed by now, they hate women. These people. But it's also foot and mouth because there are people who are literally pigeon-toed, and I guarantee you they're conscientious about it. I guarantee you. I mean, humans are I mean, even men are conscientious about our body shapes and stuff. I mean, it's just human, right? Especially if you put yourself in an intimate situation, you're going to show your body, your nakedness to another person. It's there are people are shy about it. They're concerned. You say, "Am I good? Am I good looking enough? Are they going to notice that mole or whatever?" Right? The little things. We're conscientious about it, and you're literally picking on pigeon-toed people. Right now, I explained to you this is a cultural thing here the Japanese girls do, and it's stupid. I've seen it since the whole time I've been here, and every time I see it, it's stupid. Who told you that was cute? But whatever, it's their business. But they'll do other dumbass things, right? Like for years now, you know what's been really popular with young girls, particularly twinning. We have the besties, and they will dress identical every day. They literally dress like twins, even though they're not even related. It's a thing with the young girls, and it's well, to be fair, I've seen a few of these girls. They're usually in two, that's why they call it twinning. But I've seen a couple of them pull it off pretty well, actually, and then I've seen a lot not. hmm but whatever. It's just the thing. Girls do shit. Shut up.
Yeah.
Knees. We got the list is getting longer, guys.
Yeah. Because we've allowed a lot of unstable, narcissistic people.
We have.
to be validated on a daily basis. So now anything that they don't like, you're not supposed to like either. So
Speaking of narcissism, Grimlock.
yeah. Chicago typewriter creator Brandon Fiadino claims that outrage surrounding Moses Ingram and Obi-Wan Kenobi is a marketing op by Disney.
Okay. Now, I've kind of stayed away from the Obi-Wan thing a little bit, but it blew up this week. My God, did it blow up? Everybody and their brother is talking about Obi-Wan. So, okay, fine, I hear you. So I'll talk about it. The first question I have, Grimlock, Thundero, is do you think her mama actually named her Moses?
Probably.
Do you think, though? Do you really think her mama named her Moses?
I have heard some weird names. Yeah, I could totally see that.
Moses, the most male
Yes.
name you could possibly give a child. I don't get name a more male name than Moses. Abraham,
Guy.
Guy. Yeah, Guy. But I mean, it's why in the hell? I don't believe it. I think she changed her name. But
I saw a little bit of this. I think this person is completely correct. This is the most fake-looking campaign one of the most fake-looking ones I've ever seen. It's like Jussie Smollett, but digital. Here's the evidence that I've seen. They have a couple screenshots of allegedly people sent her messages on like Instagram. Huh? Like, come on. I've been on the internet for 20 years now. 20 years. I've been fooling around on the internet. You know what the truth of the matter is? Screenshots are not proof. It's so easy to fake a screenshot.
Sure.
It takes 2 minutes.
Yeah,
2 minutes.
We could even demonstrate. Okay. Beyond that, beyond the fact that they supposedly have their evidence, do keep in mind this whole hubbubaloo started. And it continued for a different reason, which I'll get into in a second. It started because there was a leak, a supposed leak, and this is why they're supposing that they knew it was bad, people weren't going to like it, so they're trying to get ahead of it, which they do all the time. And the leak was saying, "Get ready, the racists are going to hate you," basically, preempting the racism behind the scenes, supposedly behind the scenes. Of course, she has said the dumbest shit ever. Finally, there's a black person in. She didn't even say woman. She just said black in Star Wars, and it's like there's literally what, a dozen and a half, 2 dozen black people in frickin' Star Wars. What are you talking about?
And literally no one cares. In fact, the one that I think got done the dirtiest is Finn. Pretty much everybody who somewhat liked that first film and hated what happened afterwards was largely mad because of what they did to Finn. Now, obviously, the Luke shit was the big deal, but the fact that Finn became just nothing. He became nothing. He went nowhere. For 2 more movies, he had no story. There was no story for him, clearly. And the fact of the matter is, I think most Star Wars fans kind of would have been cool with Finn being the main character, especially over fucking boring ass white girl Rey. At least he had an interesting dynamic of he was a former stormtrooper. That could have been really cool. And what happened?
I figured he was going to be the action part. I thought that's what they were going to do with him, but they didn't. Yeah.
Finn ended up playing quadruple fiddle. Or would that be the right term? Whatever, fourth fiddle to some girl who nobody liked and who had the dumbest line maybe in the history of Star Wars, because she quite literally nearly destroyed everybody just to save one person, and then tried to rationalize it like she did a good thing.
Yeah.
And then he was off on some little side quest that had absolutely nothing to do with the plot of anything, and it was just there so Finn had something to do, because they literally had nothing for Finn, the black character, to do. You could make an argument that in recent Star Wars especially, the black characters have been treated poorly. I could believe that.
They have, yeah.
But not in original Star Wars. Lando's the shit. Everybody likes Lando Calrissian.
Hell yeah.
He's the man.
He almost stole Leia from the Han.
He did.
He did. And he also, he flew the Millennium Falcon. He came to their
Right.
rescue. He saved their ass. He destroyed the second Death Star. Yeah,
That's
Lando
right.
Calrissian's pretty badass.
Pretty good character. Pretty
Yeah.
well written, actually.
But he's nowhere near the only one. There's so many of them. Matter of
And then
fact,
the most badass of the Masters was Mace with his purple lightsaber, which just because he wanted a purple lightsaber, and I said, all right. George said, all right, listen, that's fine. I'll give you a
why the
purple
hell
lightsaber.
not?
Why
Give him a
not?
purple lightsaber, dude. The dude wants a
And
purple
he was
lightsaber.
he beat up Palpatine straight. He beat him. Some people say Palpatine threw that fight. I say Palpatine
Bullshit.
lost that fight, and he had to resort to the lightning because he was getting his ass kicked. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, he was a little bit of rope-a-doping, though. He was rope-a-doping.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to get Anakin, because they were trying to sell Anakin turn to the dark side, which they did horribly and stupidly.
yes,
But
they
he
did.
was rope-a-doping. Yeah. But anyway, it gets deeper than that. Okay, so they're already playing that card, and they're doing it because it's not good. Right, this girl, this fucking Moses, fuck off, is just dumb race baiter, just straight up race baiter. But it gets worse because not only is it bad, it is Return of the Jedi bad.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is a full-on coward cuck.
Of course he is. He's white. He
Because
has
of
to
course.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah.
I think you meant The Last Jedi, not Return of the Jedi. But The Last
The
Jedi,
Last Jedi.
they straight told you what their agenda was. You could take politics out of it. It was destroy the past, kill it if you have to. That's the agenda. That's been Disney's agenda from Jump Street with these movies, because that's why they got rid of the EU and renamed it, so they could have it under their branding, so they could resell it under their branding, so they could make money off of it. They wanted to erase everything they could about Lucas's old empire and build their own in its place. So what they had to do is destroy everything. And they damn near succeeded. If it wasn't for, well, honestly, no, they did succeed because The Mandalorian's a new property. But they pretty much succeeded in driving away most of the most ardent fans I knew, including myself.
My wife, she's out.
Yeah, just out. Just no, thank you. I'm not interested.
Like
no,
I've been out. Like it's the funny thing is they're acting like we don't know the playbook. Like they obviously think that people don't know the playbook. We've seen these shows. It's gonna be this extended universe thing, and then it's a bait and switch over and over again. It's a bait and switch, where the character that's supposed to be the protagonist ends up becoming the sidekick, or like Thundaro said about Finn, becomes the fourth fucking wheel.
Yeah.
In their own damn shit, and it's like nobody cares to see. Most people don't care to see that anymore, except for the normies.
Yeah, and even the
normies,
I don't think are that attached to it.
But the normies just look at it as the meme you've seen. I'm pretty sure you've seen the meme of the NPC where it's like, I support the current thing, and most normies is, I will watch the current thing. It's
sure.
If all they have to unfortunately, I told people, I used to get into arguments with people. I said the moment that Disney bought Star Wars and Marvel, they was going to go to shit.
Yeah, George told us this.
And when it didn't happen, right away, I had a lot of people, oh, see, you was wrong. You're just being cynical. You was being an asshole. It's like, give it time. Give it time.
Yeah.
Patience, grasshopper.
It didn't take that much time, really. But
no, it really did. I was going to say, and another thing about this is, was the whole, all right, let's just say those screenshots are real. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
Whatever. There's idiots, of course. Yeah.
So you're gonna take. That's the thing, is that
Probably
they always
George.
do that. They'll take like three. They'll find like 3 or 4 people out of like 5,000 and go, see, look, racist. The racists are here.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, can I have some of my own racism for a second, if you don't mind, Grimlock?
Yes, please be
You know,
sprinkle some racism
I
over,
will.
over here.
See, the thing is, I've heard this girl. I've not only seen the text, I've heard her in an interview. I've met this kind of black girl before,
Or
and
she's ghetto as fuck.
she's ghetto as fuck. And beyond that, she of course the money's the money. I get it, but the thing is, she's that type of racist that she the whole time she's got her nose turned up. You know, damn white people. I'm surrounded by a bunch of crackers. You know the girl I
Mhm.
mean. That's who she
Oh yeah.
is. She is a full-on
What?
racist. She can't stand it. She bitch constantly about all these damn white people, and she will do it
Well,
openly because she's allowed to somehow.
Yep.
well,
Right? That's
Chester.
who that girl
This
is.
Chester, this will probably warm your heart to know that a lot of black people are not on her side. In fact,
I
I was
get it. Sure.
watching Hotep Jesus, him and
My
Uncle
man.
Hotep having a field day with this a
Yep.
couple of days ago, just laughing at it.
Well, yeah, because she's a dumbass, and they're just because here's the thing with Finn. When I heard he was in that movie, I didn't know who the Daisy really was, and I knew I could see what they were doing. I'm like, you could do it well, but when I heard Finn was in it, John Boyega, I was like, ooh, because I had seen not too long before that Force Awakens came out. It's only a few years, 4 or 5 years before that. I saw him in a little movie called Attack the Block, and he was
Mm.
awesome, dude. He was cool. And I was like, all right. So he's gonna be their new action dude. He's gonna be their action dude. That's what was in my brain. Have you guys seen
Mhm.
Attack the Block?
I have not.
You go watch that. That is a great little indie gem, dude. It's an alien
Cool.
invasion monster movie set in England, London, I think, or Manchester or something like that. Go watch
Interesting.
that. Attack the Block is a great little movie. And so when I saw John Boyega, because I knew who he was, I was like, oh, I like that guy in that movie. He'd be fun, right? Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Yeah. But this she's
See,
an idiot, dude.
And they
see, you
still
got me
and
thinking now. There's so much they could have done with Finn. There's so many ways because honestly, yeah, okay, Force Awakens was kind of a joke because it was just, New Hope 2, basically. But if that was given to then a competent next director, he had left a whole lot of threads that you could have played with pretty cool. But of course, that's not what happened because Rey had to be the heroine. If you had it be that this was his awakening into his force powers, which is what we all thought, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Especially from
yeah.
that trailer, we thought all of these people were going to be Jedi. Um,
I thought they were
in that
Luke's
first fight,
students, is what I thought they were.
yeah, that first fight where he lost, right? He got stomped out by Kylo as he should. Um, that could have been a huge character moment for him as a Jedi. And the fact that she came in and basically beat him could have been a huge character moment for her as a Sith. But no, we don't get that. What do we get? We get a ridiculous story that doesn't make any fucking sense in the second movie. And then the third movie's even somehow worse in the sense department. Still makes no damn sense. No logic to it at all. And Finn, throughout the next two movies, what does he do? That's memorable. Nothing. Nothing. Just terrible, Disney. Disney did this
Yeah,
shit on
it was
purpose.
bad.
No one will ever convince me otherwise.
Of course they
They
did.
did exactly what they set out to do. This idea that there was no plan. No, there was a plan. There just
China.
wasn't a good plan.
China.
It wasn't a good plan at all. The plan was to destroy the house that Lucas built as much as they could so that they could rebuild it in the mouse's image. That was always the plan. And they
For
were very
money.
open about this plan.
For
Yeah.
money.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I'm confused, though, and you guys are going to have to help me out because I don't live in America. Because now I don't
Yep.
use this derogatory term of Negro or Negroid. I don't use it because, and I don't do it because of any cultural pressure. It's just because it's a nasty, mean word. Don't
I'm
be
I'm
mean and
I'm gonna
nasty.
I'm gonna quote Hotep Jesus from Thursday. He said, "I kind of find it hard to believe that you're gonna tell me that all the racists came after you, and this person didn't even use the hard R."
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the question. The hard R.
Because
I
this
don't
sounds exactly
understand
like
the
something I
hard
would have
R.
said.
What is the difference between not the hard R and the hard R?
Well,
Well, the hard R is pretty much always derogatory.
yeah.
It's very rare where you can have a situation where it's said by anybody and not be in a derogatory manner.
Yeah, but isn't it
Uh,
always derogatory? Because
no,
it is
It
a hateful slur. That's what the word is.
correct,
It is a slur.
correct.
Just like
But
there are many other slurs that you really, really shouldn't do outside of comedy.
Yeah.
It should have been, but to quote you, the urbane culture
Yeah.
muddied the waters 40 years ago with
Urbane.
that word.
The Urbanes.
So 40 years ago, the waters got really muddied,
Yeah.
where you know, oh, if somebody says GA, it's a term of endearment, but if you use the hard R, it's you're a white supremacist.
Right.
And it's like, either way, you guys are throwing that out there like it's seasoning salt. So,
Yeah, that
why
is
am I supposed to
confusing.
be upset about this?
Yeah, and this Wigger over here, he just part of the crew, you know. Okay. But whatever. It's still going on with their references, and no one gives a shit. No one cares. No one cares about you. You're an idiot,
See,
and more importantly, you're just replacing Obi-Wan. You're cucking him out, and people, of course, aren't happy about it because it's Obi-Wan. He's a beloved character. There's no
but
reason to do it. There's no reason to do it. And
but
and if your mama named you Moses, go slap that bitch. All right?
I will say, but to interject on this, I'm supposed to believe that all of a sudden Disney cares about racism when they still won't even address the fact that in their own franchise, they basically, like you said, put Finn in the background because the Chinese didn't like his black ass.
Yeah, and of course this is Disney Plus, so they don't have to worry about the
So
Chinese. Yeah,
yeah, so you're gonna tell me in a franchise where basically you catered to open racism because the Chinese didn't hide it at all.
no,
There was no
they're not
there was
afraid.
no innuendo, or there was no soft talk about it. They just said no, we don't like him.
Yeah, they don't like it,
And
and it
th-
is racism. It is racism, straight up. Yeah,
but you capitulated to them. You said, okay, we'll get rid of him. You give us money,
yes.
and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that very same company, because what? Because it's a black woman now. All of a sudden I'm supposed to care that
No,
they
well,
taking a stand against racism?
here's the question though, beyond this girl particularly and the noise she's making and the noise they're trying to center around her, because a lot of the memes are, around the idea that Disney is insisting that we be racist. That's what Disney is doing. You are racist. You're going to be racist because we know it, right? And the memes are, of course, pointing that out. But besides all this stupidity, the acting out of this girl particularly is really really bad. She's just not a good actress. They could have picked a better actress. I'm sure there's plenty of good black actresses they could have picked. She's not a good actress. I've seen it, and it's not good, right? Which is strange because like I said, there's plenty of black actresses that would have done way better. But the point is, the way they're cucking out Obi-Wan, in the end, she is going to lose. I don't know if they'll kill her outright because they might want to use her later. But she's going to lose. Of course, she's the bad guy, right? She's going to lose. But here's the question we're going to put on the line here and see how much you guys are willing to bet. And I'm going to set it 22 to 1. Obi-Wan's not going to be the one who beats her.
Probably not, and most likely she's gonna do something that makes him a better Jedi. He's gonna learn a valuable lesson about life
Hmm.
from her, because
Yep.
that's how it all.
Yep.
We all know the playbook. So
Yeah, that's true. That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah, and James Earl Jones, another black man that had nothing to do with Star Wars ever, he gonna have to choke a bitch. I agree, Brett. I agree. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, man. I've often wanted to see more of like Mace Windu's story and stuff, because he's
yeah,
supposedly the
that would have been cool.
super badass duelist Jedi who he's so disciplined he can actually use the dark side a little bit and it doesn't corrupt him. He breaks all the rules in that regard, and yet we basically don't get much of him in the actual full canon. He's just in those few spots he's in
Yeah,
those movies.
unfortunately, yeah.
he
Well,
don't
You
get
could do
no.
something like, if you want to do a Disney Plus story about a Jedi that we haven't really got a lot of, and he's black, why not Mace Windu?
yeah, why
Mace
not
Windu's the shit.
give us a young Mace Windu once again, plenty of good actors
You
who could do it.
Yep.
you could have gave us a video game like Jedi Fallen Order starring Mace Windu, and I'd have been all
Yep.
up in
Oh,
that shit.
everybody would have been all over that shit, dude.
And if you would
For
have got
without
Sam
question.
Jackson the voice acted, oh fuck,
Oh
man.
hell, dude. Hell, what are you doing? Get on
Well,
that,
this
EA.
is my broader point, though. Right? The reason why I bring up Mace, there was a time when Star Wars had one of, if not the best, black actors on the planet. Especially at that time, he was in everything for a reason. As a main character or a secondary main character, especially in the third one, in its trilogy, in its series, right? A
Hmm.
big deal. That was a big deal when Samuel L. Jackson was in there. It's
Yeah,
a shame he didn't have more to do, but it still was a big deal.
I get it.
Now we've regressed to this Moses lady who is a terrible actress. I've seen some of her scenes. I've seen a couple of glimpses here or there on like YouTube and stuff. And she just doesn't have it. Sorry to tell you, lady, you don't have what the skill. You don't have it. You miss your reactions, your expressions are flat. They're
She's not a
not
good
what they need to
actress.
be.
She's not.
She's
Yeah.
just not a good actress. Take it from me. I was an actor. I aspired to be a director until I realized how disgusting Hollywood is. Um, she's just I wouldn't cast her for anything. Maybe an extra, maybe. She just doesn't have it. I don't know why they cast her. I have absolutely no idea. There's plenty of black actresses out there who could have done this job, done it far superior. Especially when you have a very good actor in Ewan McGregor, who she has to bounce off of, and now he's got to work with somebody way beneath his level, and that
And
just brings him down.
and he's heading the
Guaranteed
knees.
that brings him down.
He's been cut off of the knees anyway.
Yeah,
But it's funny, Brett. But Elrod, yeah, no, in a way, and that's one of the problems with the prequels. They told us, they didn't show us. They should have
yeah,
showed us Mace Windu.
that's
Yes,
right.
yeah, I agree. That's one of the big problems with prequels, because I understand the prequels are levels above the crap we're getting out of Disney right now. I get it, but it's still bad. Yeah, it's not good. That's a hot mess. The prequels,
Yeah,
dude. But Mace
yep.
Windu, they should have showed us a lot more of him because he is cool. And you're right. But I mean, I would love to see a young Mace Windu series. That would be
And
fun.
no, he's not a Mary Sue. There's been other Jedi who flirted with the dark side and been able to
Well, I
incorporate
mean,
it a little
he
bit.
he
That's
kind
not
of
unusual.
he kind of leans on the Qui-Gon Jinn side of the Grey Knight, right?
Yeah, yes, and he's much more because of his discipline and his ability to control his emotions so well. He can actually use them, right? So his I can't remember what the name of it is, but his lightsaber form that he uses that he created is basically the same thing. I think it's Varad or something like that. Basically the same thing as the one that Darth Vader uses,
Mm,
and it heavily leans on his emotions as well, of course, because he's dark side. And that's why it's so powerful and so hard to
yeah.
beat, because it uses all of the same tricks that they use. That's why he was able to outduel probably the greatest duelist alive in Palpatine at the time, um, because he doesn't have an advantage. That takes away his advantage.
Yeah. Well,
And I think that could be so cool to play with, because in the lore of him, he does struggle with it, right? He created this thing, and he obviously flirts with something he's, most of the time you're not supposed to, and he would obviously tell others not to. And he struggles with that. It's not something he can just do. Like, he's not Ray, is what I'm saying. He's not just shoot force lightning and he has no effect on him at all. Has no problem to cause him any kind of consternation, any kind of nothing. It actually does weigh on him and bother him, and he'll go into long periods of meditation to try and correct it,
well,
because he
because
knows that if he isn't careful, he'll fall.
right, and she's an actual Mary Sue anyway.
Yes.
But
Yes.
a straight up one. But if you read Star Wars books, and
Yep.
particularly the role playing material, which there are, information for Miss Kennedy, there are literally hundreds of books.
Yep.
That if you read it, the nuance between the light and the dark is far more nuanced than they
Yep.
show in the movie, really. Because, one of the themes of Star Wars, if you read all that stuff, is the Jedi aren't always right.
That's right.
They're not. And the dark side is not always wrong. It just isn't.
That's right.
It's a different way to use power. And some of the more interesting thing is when you get into when the Jedi run into people on other planets that use the Force, but they use it differently.
Right.
Right. And that is when things get really interesting when you want to get into this kind of conversation. However, dumb, Dumb and
Yep.
dumb. This woman is a
Yep.
racist. We've all met this kind of woman. She's just a straight up white hater. She's a black supremacist. I know this type, right?
Yep.
And that is the least of the problem, because what they're doing with Obi-Wan is just more of the same bullshit they did to Luke Skywalker. So,
It's just a deflection at the end of the
it
day.
is.
Like every single person on any show ever gets these kind of comments. People are going to go at you with whatever they think will get a reaction. It has absolutely nothing to do with your precious little racial identity. They're just using that because you're sensitive to it, stupid. If you'd stop showing them your weakness, they'd stop swinging at it.
Yeah. Or just
It's that simple.
stop giving your money to Disney. How about that?
Yeah, well, that
Just
too.
stop.
Stop doing that too, as in general, people. Just stop.
Stop. And I don't say boycott, boycott. Go find something better, because
Yeah.
it's
There is stuff
just
better. There's stuff
stop
better than
it.
Star Wars out there,
You're
Chester. Sci-fi better than Star Wars. Go find it.
There is,
Yeah,
but it's a shame, because the reason Star Wars is where it is today, before the whole Disney nonsense, is because of the fans and
yep,
their love and their creation of books and game role playing games and card games and dice games and video games. It's the
that's right.
love of the fan that brought it to where it is, not George Lucas. Not George Lucas.
No,
George
and
Lucas,
George knows that,
he
by the
does.
way. Yeah,
Lightning in a bottle, baby. And
yeah,
and the fan base took it forward, and now the
that's right.
fans are the villains. They constantly yelling and deriding the fans. The fans are the worst thing ever as far as Disney is concerned. And it's like, boy, you didn't take economics in high school. That's quite clear.
Well, it's funny to me because Disney, they just keep going. They refuse to, and I know they were going to do this. This isn't a surprise statement for me. I'm not surprised by it. Disney's been on this political agenda probably. Well, Walt was on it a little bit too, but really since Walt died, they've had a massive shift towards
Yep.
social engineering. We'll
Yep.
call it,
Yep.
and they don't even really hide it. They're pretty open about it, and they're not going to stop just because they lose money, because they've lost billions in value in the last few months. I mean, billions of dollars, and they just keep going.
Yeah,
They keep going.
they do.
Keep doubling down and keep pushing.
And
Okay.
yeah, and the funny thing about this, Elrod, your statement you've made here is very accurate. They complain about mean words and people being mean and their little feelings being shattered, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I hear them saying women that can roar.
Yes. Women can do anything men can do, and they're so strong and powerful. But if I call them a cunt, they'll melt down.
Well, you don't even have to go that harsh. You can go much lighter than that. You can say, I have a question.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
No,
Anyway,
they
let's
don't
get
even
on
have
to.
to do that. 2 words, Leah Thomas.
Oh, well, hey, dude, they got what they asked for. I think it's hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
I think it's
You
hilarious.
reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow, bitch. So fine. I want more. I want 10,000
Take it
more
all.
Leah Thomases, dude.
Take
10,000.
it all.
Yeah.
Yep. I want you know what? I want trans men or whatever they are, trans women, whatever you word it. I want them to go even take the chess titles. Take it all.
No, I
They don't get nothing.
I see a Leah Thomas. I'm gonna go over and give her a big old hug, and I'm saying, "You go, girl," and give her a slap on the ass.
Oh my god.
She want to be a woman, so I got to treat her like a woman, as you do. Go ahead.
Want me to do it? I'll do it. Academy Award-winning actor John Voight weighs in on Uvalde, how do you say that, school shooting. Quote, "We must not allow mental illness to take away our right to bear arms," end quote. Correct.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, Mr. Voight here often has the correct opinion. Now, Mr. Voight, please go do something about your daughter. Please.
Well,
Please. Please.
Whale.
Because she's a freaking wreck. She's been a wreck for 30 years, sir, and you know it.
Yep. I think he does know it. Look at him. That's a broken man right there. Look at that face. Not a happy man. It's not a man full of vim and vigor and joy.
No.
Well, I do
like
she
Mr.
got
Voight.
married. He's like, hell, my job was done.
Well,
yeah, boy.
Dude. Yeah.
Boy, was he wrong.
Yeah, boy, what a noisy girl he created. And keep in mind, back even before she got into the whole "I'm a woman, hear me roar" crap, Back way back, I don't know if you guys remember, because when she was really young, she was actually kind of cute. She's a skeletal alien creature now,
Yes,
terrifying thing.
yes.
But back then she was a little cutie. But keep in mind, if you just go find an old interview from Angelina Jolie back when she was 20 something, or even younger,
Hmm.
and you'll see what you have is a goth chick, right?
Yeah.
Who walks around with a vial of her boyfriend's blood around her neck, and
Hmm.
she'll talk about little sexual escapades where they will have a room full of orgies and a bunch of dudes fucking her because she likes that, you see, and her doing little razor cuts on the boys so she can suck on their blood. That's Angelina
That's normal.
Jolie.
That's
She's
perfectly normal
she's a
behavior.
razor fisted a gang bang orgy girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It sounds about right.
yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine what broke her, Chester. I
But
can't.
I don't know,
Can't figure it out. It's a
but
mystery.
hear me roar, man. Okay.
No, I
But
agree with Mr. Voigt. I think Mr. Voigt is he's an old man,
he's me.
and
He's like my age, yeah, or
I think
he's
he's
a
a
little bit
little older.
older, a little bit older.
Yeah, he's a little older. I mean, Angelina's almost your age. Yes.
No, you're right.
Um,
He's 60 something, or 70
yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
but I think he's a sincere man. I think he probably understands he screwed up his daughter, or didn't help her from being screwed up, didn't keep her from getting screwed up. And I agree with him. I think the answer is simply no. They always screech that we need to do more, we need to do this with gun control. No. No. That's it. Debate over. No. I'm done.
Yeah. No.
We've given you too much. The answer is no. If you're not going to start seriously doing something or proposing something to handle the obvious mental health crisis we have in this country, then I don't want to hear you talk about guns. You don't get an opinion until you deal with the actual problem.
Yeah.
Because if guns were the problem,
It's
then
not the
every
problem.
state I just drove through would be a war zone.
Yeah. No,
Because
dude.
there's lots of them.
When I was a kid, there were more guns in more households than there are today, and we had none of it. Right? There's
Yep.
clearly something else going on. And Alan, I know you're being funny and saying sign me up, but I don't think you would enjoy a girl taking a razor and nicking the head of your penis so she could suck on it. I don't think you're in for that. I really don't,
Ooh,
because you can get it done cheaper and easier somewhere else, buddy. Okay, just go
To be
down to the
honest,
correct. Go.
you would punch a chick in her fucking right in her forehead.
Yep. That's
if she even
that's
ran
when a
her
bitch
teeth
gets it.
across it.
That is true.
So
keep that away from my
I don't
dick.
think that razor blade. I don't think that's happening.
No,
No,
that's a beating.
Just go.
I'm not advocating for beating women, but I can understand.
Yeah, Alan, just go down to the main street and get a crack whore. You're good. Okay.
Yeah, they're cheaper too.
They're
Lot
cheaper. Yeah, cheaper.
Hey, look, if
I
you
had
ain't
one.
a beaver trying to build a dam, you have no business biting on the log.
Damn straight,
that's a
dude.
good
What
point.
I'm gonna write that down.
That's a good point.
That's
I actually knew one of my coworkers, actually one of my employees back in the day, had a crack whore offer to suck his dick for $1. So it's real cheap. You don't got to spend a lot. They're desperate out there,
dude.
I don't know, and inflation's something else, man.
No, dude.
Might be $1.50 now,
yeah,
but
$1.50. But no. But here's the thing, though. That was in my head because of something my wife was watching. She's watching a thing about the heroin epidemic, and it's focusing on Philadelphia, which I guess is the epicenter of it, and the fentanyl and heroin problem. And of course, it's disgusting. These blue cities and blue states are they're not fixing the problem. And they think they're being compassionate, but they're actually hurting people. But anyway, she likes this suffering porn. I don't know, women like that shit. But whatever, she's watching it, and I'm just doing something else that's kind of the background. But one thing did catch my eye, and I came up and I said something that made her laugh, because there was this lady who was 40. She looked 82. Okay.
oh god,
Well, heroin will do that to you, right?
oh yeah,
And of course, where's she getting her money? She's prostituting. Now,
oh my god.
now the thing
No.
is, and when they said that, and she said that she was spending $250 a day on heroin, living in the street, therefore she's earning 250 or more, $300 a day. I said very simply, who in the hell's putting their dick anywhere near that? I mean, my God, it's a freaking train wreck of a human. Why would you let
You
that
would
anywhere
be
near you, dude? What are you
you
doing?
would be shocked and horrified to know.
No, I
Yeah.
don't get it. Dude, I really don't understand it. If you're
I
really
don't
that
either.
desperate, you can go find a prettier girl, a cleaner girl, to do that for you. Maybe you spend an extra $20. How much does a BJ cost? I've never actually gone to a prostitute. I've never had to. I've
Yeah,
been around them though.
yeah.
But I don't even know how much they cost. But how much does a BJ even cost though? Anybody?
I have no
Couldn't tell you.
idea.
Kensington,
I
yeah,
wouldn't pay
Dave,
for
yeah.
one.
Well,
Yeah, I
no, I
wouldn't pay
mean,
for one.
because you don't have to.
Well,
But
and if I was gonna pay for one, I'd pay for one. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna go out there. I'm not gonna go get the fucking $2
no,
steak
get the
of blowjobs.
$1,000 girl, right? The pro, yeah.
Yes,
Uh, uh, but
exactly.
but no, I'm just but there's no need to. However, there is a philosophy that I heard when I was young, and it consists you know it exists today, whereas the guys are saying, well, look, you're paying for the girl anyway. This way, it's on my own time when I have free
Yep.
time, and I don't have to worry about it. And
You don't
I
have to deal with
get
her
it.
shit either.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I get it though. I do get it.
Yeah.
I understand it. I don't think that way because I like to have a woman next to me. I've always
I
had a
think a
woman.
lot of guys don't. I think there's a lot of guys who've been either burned by women or they're just not interested in relationships, but obviously they still, they still got
Well,
testicles that still want to
okay,
be taken care of. So they, that's just an easier option. And I understand that argument too. I get that argument
I
too.
do. Yeah.
Uh, I just personally don't. I actually, believe it or not, Chester, I really like my wife. She's pretty awesome. I can spend whole
Yeah.
weekends with
No.
her and have no trouble.
Yeah. No. I do like the women's. But
Yeah.
I think the problem here's the problem. I gotta help. I gotta help. I have to give a public service announcement, Grimlock. Okay.
Go ahead.
This is what you gotta do, and I don't care how big your dick is. This is what you gotta do. You gotta fuck them right and try every angle until they make the sound.
Yeah.
When you get that sound, you're good. You're good. You're done. Right?
Yeah.
That's the sound. And you just every time you keep working at it until you get that sound. Because when they have that deep orgasm, I mean that deep orgasm. Now I understand there are three
She
kinds of
sounded
orgasm.
retarded.
Well, right, but I mean that cervix one. Well, no. Well, the thing is that cervix orgasm, unless you're big enough, you're not going to get that. That's all right though. You can get that G spot even if you're a small dude, and you get that big, heavy, deep orgasm from a girl. Your problems are done, dude.
Yeah.
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 And
It's
this is
true.
what you have to do. If you're not doing that, and she gets up and leaves on you, that's your own fucking fault, dude. You
Yeah.
didn't do your job.
That's right.
And I'm not being vulgar either. I'm not being funny or goofing off like I usually am. I'm serious. As a
That's right.
fucking heart attack, dude. That's the reality when you're dealing with women in a sexual situation. Now there are other things you have to do too. Of course you have to well, I'm not going to get into a huge relationship advice thing, but that's a big one, dude. It is a
Yep.
big one.
Yep.
You know.
Because women have an advantage, Chester. It's not fair. You see, they can do that multiple times with ease, and in fact, if you can help them, I'll be as gentle as possible. If you can help them with that, well, she's yours. Like she's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
She might be a little difficult occasionally, but just do that to her. She'll be fine.
No, seriously.
If you have the power to just finish that task successful,
Yeah.
you will have a much happier life with your woman. If you don't,
No,
sucks, man.
it
That
does.
sucks for you.
And well, and most men that have had multiple partners, we're waiting for that guttural moan, right? Because we
Yeah,
know what the effect it has. We know it, right?
that's right.
Um, so it is what it is, man. And this is important. I don't know how we went from absolute heroin
John
whores,
Voight. We went from
blowjobs.
John Voight to orgasms.
Yeah, well, it's his daughter. Look at the pollution she has. But anyway, you're 100% right, Mr. Voigt. You usually are, and it has nothing to do with guns. It has to do with society and culture, which is absolutely fractured,
Yeah.
and it's a problem. And I know a lot of
Well, the
people
other
like
problem is, and I don't
music.
understand why we don't do it. I don't understand why. Hang on one second.
But the we got a huge problem and we need to solve that because it's a cultural issue. It's not, of course, it's not a gun issue. You got anything to say on this, Grimlock?
Yeah, I agree with him. I wish people would. I won't say I wish because I've come to know better when it comes to the American people. They have successfully trained the American people into attacking the symptom and never the problem.
Yeah,
That's why a lot of
that is
these
true.
politicians
That is
has
true.
managed to get away with the bullshit that they get away with for fucking decades on end with no consequence or even the slightest of opposition. Um, this is not gun control. First, they tried to make it a partisan issue. It is not a partisan issue. There's millions of people who love guns, and I guarantee you, it's not every redneck in Mississippi named Jim Bob with a mullet.
No, it
Um,
rarely is them actually, because they got more important things to do. But Eric
well,
says,
even then, I have seen most people who like guns are more knowledgeable and welcoming into it than other people because they want you to get in, but they don't want to get shot because somebody's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
no, that's true. Yeah.
this like this idea that it's just a small group of people who's clinging on to the Second Amendment. Yeah, and I'll remind them, gun laws was never about gun safety. It was about keeping a certain group of people that Democrats claim that they're allies of from getting guns.
Which
that's
didn't do
right.
That's what
anything
gun
because they
laws
just buy
was
them
for.
illegally. Yeah.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
no,
or make
literally,
them.
yeah, or make them little zip guns and stuff.
Yeah,
But the thing is, though, another statistic that never gets brought up, even by like say Fox, which is weird. You're literally when you look at people who cause gun violence compared to those with guns who stop violence, it's literally 1,000 to 1. Actually, I
that's
think
right.
it's 3,000 to 1.
It's pretty high. I know the CDC said it's like in 2018. I think was the last time they brought this up. They said it was 500,000 to 3 million people are saved, lives are saved, or crimes are stopped with a firearm every year.
Oh, well, that's much less than I thought. But I had heard some
That's
statistic, but it
still
doesn't matter.
obscene, and that's
It's
still if it's 3 million, if it is that high number, it's 1,000%, because
yeah,
only
it's yeah,
about 30,000 ish people, 30, 40,000 ish people kill themselves with gun or get killed by a gun. Most of
you
them by themselves
you got to
every year
take the
in
suicide rate
America.
out of it, though. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Suicide has nothing to do with this conversation. A person who's going to commit suicide will find the way,
That's
right?
right.
So that should not be in the statistic. I was talking about actual violent use of gun versus
Yeah, sure as hell
violent
didn't stop Jeffrey
protection.
Epstein allegedly.
No, well, come on. We all know he didn't kill himself. But Eric,
I mean, that was
Eric,
some determination
it
there. I mean,
was
fuck.
determination. Yeah, I love
Had he
Steven
not
Crowder.
already hung himself, we could have gave him a medal for it.
Steven Crowder actually hurt himself to prove that was bullshit. It was funny. But anyway, Eric says, BJ, covered or uncovered, $60 to $120. Dude, that's expensive. That's
Yeah, that's not it.
expensive.
You can go on a date cheaper than that. Shit.
Well, I mean, just go on a date because that's about the
Yeah,
same price.
yeah. Depending on where you go, depending on how fancy the woman is too.
You're spending at least
Um,
$60 minimum, dude.
60, yeah, yeah, minimum.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now. My wife came in here. She was, how women talk on the phone. They scream into it.
Hmm.
So that's why I had to mute myself real fast because she was screaming into her phone. I completely forgot what I was going to say. So there's that. That happened.
Yeah, well, Alan is trying to defend the dick nicking. He says Hugh Grant and Elizabeth Hurley. Some people crave a 7-Eleven hot dog sometimes. All right, Alan, that's all on you. You go do that, and you come back and report to us how the experience was. God damn it. All right, but
I just think that was proof that Elizabeth couldn't do it because if she was good at it, he don't leave.
yeah, well, Amber Heard must be really good at it. She must be a wildcat in bed, dude. Because look at all the dudes she hooks, and she's clearly a psychopath. And not
Oh,
a
she
so
has to be.
well. I don't think she's technically murdered anyone, but no, she's a psychopath.
Well,
But
maybe,
she must be a wildcat in
maybe.
bed, dude. She must be. Anyway, this I thought would be fun.
Ooh, top 10 Star Wars ships.
Alrighty, here we go.
Well, we
Now,
know which one ain't gonna be up there.
well, this is from Frank Martin, so I'm not sure, but these little lists they put together sometimes are fun, sometimes they're where we yell at them. But anyway, there are because that Star Wars, and I said it, a lot to do with fans going getting in the industry and making stuff, and it's grown and grown, and it's become quite this epic, subculture. But one of the things I just mentioned with Fantasy Flight early in the beginning of the show, with Fantasy Flight, because of all the board games and all the kind of miniature fighting games that they put together, which are great fun, by the way. You should go check those out. They have taken everything they could find in the lore and put that on the table. So there's a lot of really cool ships. So let's take a look at it. Eric said, for all of Chester's experience, he's quite the prude when it comes to the kink. Yeah, no, I'm not much of a kink dude. Yeah, I don't really have a kink. I've had a few girls that had kinks, and I indulge them a little bit. But as
He's
long as
got
the
he's got one. He likes Asian women.
well, I do, but
Yeah.
I've had all flavors. But even indulging a girl's kink, I'll only go so far. Yeah, I'm not that dude. I guess I am a bit of a prude. Oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well. Now,
Blade
the
Wing.
B wing. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know why we're calling it a blade wing, or maybe this is a particular. It's a prototype. It's a prototype. Okay, okay. But the B wing, in and of itself, beyond the blade wing, which is cool. I get that. This is from was this is not Clone Wars. This is Rebels.
Rebels. Yeah.
Rebels.
Hmm.
And it was a great episode. It was a really fun episode. That's those little one-offs episodes you need more of. They basically went out and they were trying to get the plans, and they got this new ship, and it changed the course of a situation for them. It was a great episode. Go check it out. But the B wing, in and of itself, is really cool, and that episode in particular really showed off why it's cool. So I really suggest you go watch that Rebels episode with the B wing in it, the founding of the B wing, because it's so clean, dude. It's either in a stand up position or in a vertical position, and the firepower is insane. I would have put this way higher on the list for me because I think it's one of the coolest Star Wars ships to ever be made. What do you guys think
I think
about the
it's
B wing?
probably because it was on Rebels that they explored it more. That we didn't really. That's probably why it's so low because it's just not well known.
Maybe.
Um, I know of it, of course, obviously, especially playing the games because they have B wings in a lot of the
Oh yeah,
games.
yeah,
And yeah, it is a really cool ship. It's a very Star Warsian type of
yep,
type of ship
it
too.
is.
Very much fits its own. That's the one thing that I think. I don't know if you give the credit to George Lucas or his art teams on those movies and things, but they created such a very interesting
Yeah.
world with things like the ships and things and the
Well,
designs of them.
yeah,
Some of
the
them are
FX
some of
team.
them are ridiculous. Obviously, like they wouldn't. That's you just wouldn't design a ship that way. And then some of them make sense.
Yeah.
They look weird, but they have a lot of great function
Well,
in their weirdness.
and a lot of famous FX guys came out of that crew, right? And
Yeah,
Stan Winston and all those guys came out of that crew. A lot of people, but and they got to keep in mind too. At the time, they were doing the same thing everybody else was doing. They were literally kit bashing. Now I know kit
yeah,
bashing has a different meaning, but they were literally kit bashing old model kits, and they were tearing apart, taking pieces out, and literally gluing these things together. But
that's right.
there but there's many movies from that era and since, by the way, that you can clearly see it's a model that has been of different pieces of model just kind of glued on and styrofoam cups and whatever.
And
I
it
don't
looks
know.
so much better, in
It
my
looks
opinion.
so much better. I don't know how they pulled it off. It was the talent in the room because they're literally didn't do anything special beyond what everyone else was doing. They just were better at it.
That's right.
And boy, did
And
they pull it
they
off.
didn't know how they pulled it off either. To be honest with you, if you watch any of the documentaries and stuff, they were quite literally inventing new things just to
Yep.
make these shots work.
Yep.
And I mean, Industrial Light and Magic became a thing because of it. LucasArts, obviously, and it's impressive. And it's obviously a lot of work and would be incredibly expensive to do today.
Yeah.
But which is a shame because I still think that the
Well,
dogfights in the original Star Wars trilogy look better than the ones
they do.
in the newer
They
stuff.
do
They just look
because
better.
they have weight to them.
Yeah,
And the thing is, with give John Favreau credit where it's due. When he did the Mandalorian, he insisted that the ships be kit bashed or not
Yep.
kit bashed, but modeled. And so
Be
that
real.
meant, and they feel better in the Mandalorian for sure. But and give George credit, George Lucas credit as well. We don't want to take it away from him because he was clearly involved in the process as far as decision
Yes.
making. Because in the very opening shot of A New Hope, the royal transport or the imperial not the Aldarian transport that is trying to escape the Star Destroyer, that
That's right.
was originally supposed to be the Millennium Falcon. That was the original Millennium Falcon design, and George came in and said, "No, no, no, that's not good enough.
Yeah, that's what is that? That's nonsense.
That's not the
That's a
Millennium Falcon."
shuttle. That's
Yeah,
not the Millennium Falcon.
that's right.
Millennium Falcon's is an iconic ship, iconic pirate smuggling
Yeah,
ship. That's what
yeah.
it is.
He didn't know.
That ain't a smuggling ship.
That's right. He didn't know what it was, but he knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
So and good on him. And honestly, the Millennium Falcon, even though the B-wing here can be either vertical or horizontal in its flight characteristics, and it adjusts itself for that, which is cool. It's one of the coolest things about it. Keep in mind that the Millennium Falcon was originally supposed to be flying like the B-wing. It was supposed to be
Right.
vertical, not horizontal initially,
Yep.
right? And then they went and changed that, which was a good change. But it may just take a Millennium Falcon, turn it on its side, and see what you think. Anyway, let's move on here. So that number 9. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah.
The old TIE Defender, you know.
Um.
Yeah,
Eh.
the TIE ship thing is very Star Warsy.
Mhm.
I've always liked it. I've always appreciated it, even if it doesn't necessarily practically make sense.
Yeah.
They try to make it do so by putting, like as you see here, weapons and things in the cruxes of the wings. But not to get too deep in the conversation, but if you break that down, there's just a lot better ways to design a ship to do the same thing, even for space travel. But it
Yeah.
looks cool, and the
Yeah.
rule of cool is more important when you're talking about things that are probably impossible anyway, like space battles like this. So it looks really cool. I've always liked it. I don't know about this particular one with the triangle shape. I've never been a big fan of that. I do like the standard rectangle, like
And
the
the
TIE fighter.
the bent wing for Darth Vader's look good too. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this
Yep.
one either. Eric is on his shit, dude. The name of the Aldorian transport is the Tantive 3. No, Tantive 4. Sorry, Tantive
4.
4. Thank
Yep.
you very much, Eric. Grim, like, you get an opinion on this? I don't care for this design either.
No, I'm not a. I like Darth Vader's Tie Fighter,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
especially like considering that his was unique. That when you saw the fleet, but then you saw his, it's like, oh shit.
Well, and it worked,
So
right? It stood out. It was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. I know we
yeah,
get it. It's special. But yeah,
yeah. It's
no.
like
Go ahead.
that feeling like, okay, this you're in for a real fight now if he's out here.
Right, and I think the
So
reason why is because of the way they use this one is why it got number 9. There was a TV show way, way back that got canceled way too soon. I wouldn't say it was as drastic as the canceling of Firefly, but it was fairly drastic. Called Space Above and Beyond, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just space marine story. But they have an alien enemy, of course, and there's this one episode where there's this enemy Ace, and he's just a badass, and he's just kind of lurking out of the side of their view constantly. And the way they played that was really cool, and I think that's probably what happened with this one, something similar. I mean, let's move on here. Okay, 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 okay. All right.
Um,
Uh,
my problem with it is it looks very much like a Naboo. I think it is supposed to be from Naboo.
it is
Um,
Nabonese. Yeah, it is a
yeah,
Nabonese
yeah.
ship.
And I've never liked those ships. I think it was too commercialized.
Lego-y.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like the old Star Wars stuff, yeah, okay. It was obviously it kind of had like this, especially the Rebel stuff had a very ramshackle feel to it.
Yeah, it
Like
did.
the X-Wing, even though they are more advanced than the TIE fighters, they don't look it, not from just observation. Things like that, and I appreciated that. These are just too smooth. They're too sleek. They're not. They don't feel Star Warsy to me,
They are a
right?
little bit
Star
too
Wars,
sleek, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
I'm gonna
the
be
like
honest.
Millennium Falcon.
It
The
looks more
Millennium
like a pod
Falcon, right?
racer.
Yes, the Millennium Falcon is it's supposed to be a smuggling ship. It's an older ship, especially at the time of even of the New Hope. It's a little bit older ship, and it just doesn't look clean, right? It looks kind of like if you were going to take not the aesthetic, but the aesthetic aging, the aesthetic decay, if you will, of like an old sea ship, right? An old frigate,
Yeah.
and how they wear down and they get grimy and they're not as pretty as they were. And they do that fairly quickly, but they still keep going. That's what the Millennium Falcon has a feel of. These ships don't have that. They have a very manufactured, very commercialized feel to them that just doesn't never to me is not like they've just never felt like Star Wars to me. They feel like what Star Wars has become, sadly. And I don't know. To me, this is no. It's too small. It does look like a pod racer for one. It's tiny. I don't even think that would be capable of space travel. And two, it doesn't impress me.
Yeah.
The design is very boring, very basic.
The
It's
engines in Star Wars are, unless you're having to go into hyperspace, but the engines are very small and capable.
yep,
It is fantasy sci-fi, right? And
that's right.
Din Djarin, I wonder if the person who named this was actually intelligent and literally named this person the sound or the noise of the market. Do you think they were that clever?
Maybe isn't that the Mandalorian's name? Isn't that his name? Din Djarin?
I think so.
Mando? I think
Yeah.
that's his actual name. That would be interesting if was intentional, but I doubt it. If I'm being honest, they probably just thought it sounded cool.
Good. But anyway, yeah, I'm a little iffy on this one. It's okay. I like it's roughed
It's
up a
it,
little bit.
it's too clean. It's like I said, it looks like a pod racer. It's too clean. It doesn't have that dirty, grimy feel like when you look at all the other.
A lot
Yep.
of Boba Fett didn't, and that
Yep.
was the
Yeah, it's
argument people had. Yeah.
because you're supposed to be on this space. You're in this freaking desert. You're in this desert land, and I mean, you look like you just got that thing out of a freaking detailing shop. Like, come on.
That is true, Brett. Naboo has the 50s sci-fi aesthetic. You're right.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
Which I think was intentional
Art
because
Deco, I'd call it. Yeah.
a lot of Naboo, what we see of Naboo is supposed to be older chronologically. So maybe that was intentional by George Lucas. He wanted something to feel like it came from what would be effectively 20 years before Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work because why would the technology get uglier, right? Why did it get ugly? I mean, I guess that has happened to some degree, but there's nothing in canon to make that make sense.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work for me. And Star Wars has a very particular look to it, which is one of the reasons why I think it was so successful. And it had that, like you said, griminess, lived-in
Right.
feel about it.
Yeah.
And those ships don't.
Yeah, they don't, but I also don't mind the difference because one of the things that Star Wars, particularly the movies, I think the cartoons
Mm-hmm.
have done a better job, but is you literally are in a galaxy with billions of stars, and
Yes.
who knows how many planets, and yet we keep going back to fucking Tatooine.
Yes.
Yeah,
What
well,
is
see
about
that's
that?
the other problem.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
even with the different look, like I don't mind it having like the planets having a different look either. But if we're talking about bounty hunters and shit, like, are we saying that about like spacefaring bounty hunters are gonna have like ships that just look like that clean, like they just look like you just built it?
Yeah. Yeah, it bugs me.
I'm not saying it
Vader's
doesn't. I'm not
executor?
saying it doesn't have a place in the Star Wars universe, but for that kind of deal, it's like not really.
Feels out of place. Vader's executor is a perfect example of how to make it look industrial, which I think is the term we're looking for with the Star Wars ships. They look industrial and still sleek, right? That was one of the things that they did very well with the Empire. Is the Empire did have that uniform, manufactured look to it, a la your Nazi Germany or your Soviet Union, but it still had a very still industrial. Like if you look here, there's parts that are just kind of off, right? It's not fully smooth. and obviously the middle there has a whole bunch of what look like buildings and things. And I think they struck the balance with most of the Imperial designs.
Yeah. Well, this
When
is a
it
city
started
in
to get
space, so
when it started to get too manufactured, too smooth, too streamlined is a good word. Is when it started to lose a lot of its uniqueness, in my opinion. And the Executor is a great example of how to make it look smooth and sleek, and obviously made to a very specific specification and designed, very heavily designed, but still industrialized. And I think Brett said it: form over or function over form. Um, I think they did a great job with most of the time, anyway, with the Empire
yeah.
and their stuff looking like that.
Yeah, the imperial industrial look. Yeah, that's true. I think
Yeah,
with Disney, they because everything has to be bigger all the time. I think they've got a little bit excessive with it. But the Executor here is a really good ship, and if you read the information on the ship itself, it is designed to control a sector. So
that's
there
right.
are a lot of star destroyers and larger ships that are attached to it. This is Fleet Command, is what it is,
That's right.
and it looks good for that. I think they got a bit crazy with later stuff, but I don't know. I personally think they shouldn't have got bigger than this, in my opinion.
I
But
agree. Yeah.
because it is literally a city in space, and it's supposed to be
It's
because
massive.
it is meant to go out and never touch on a planet, and
That's
it
right.
controls entire sectors and fleets from there. This is the planet. So,
Well, and
um,
it's Vader's ship, right? And he's
and
he's
it's
kind of a
Vader's.
big deal.
He
Kind of a
is.
big deal,
Yeah,
Darth Vader.
little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vader's Executor is pretty cool. Let's come down here. Oh, once
Ooh,
again,
the razor.
kit bash. Well, not kit bash, but modeled straight up actual physical thing.
That's right.
What do you guys think
His
of this
original
though?
ship.
This little Boba Fett.
Um,
I
I think that looks like the Pelican from Halo with fucking jets on the bigger jets on the
I
side.
agree. No, I
It does,
agree.
yeah.
It
It
does look
does.
like the Pelican.
It does. I think
Yes.
it's better than his new one, personally, because what it feels like. One of the things Star Wars has always done is they've very drawn a pretty clear line between what would be fighters and what would be frigates or small or similar.
Yeah.
And this has a much. It's obviously a larger ship. It's not really a fighter class. It would be much more of like an interceptor or something like that. And I think that makes more sense for a bounty hunter
Yeah.
personally
I
than
do
a
too.
fighter.
Yeah. I
And
love
that's why I like it better. Just like baseline, I think it's a better idea.
Well, I love the interior layout. I
Yeah,
love that it was beat to hell and he was barely able to afford to keep the thing running. That was all character. This ship was part of the
right.
character and charm of the Mandalorian, which is why it worked. And it's the same exact reason why the Boba Fett didn't, because Boba Fett was style over form. And it had, and of course, Boba Fett's not the hero anyway. I mean, he's once again,
Yeah,
he just at least the Mandalorian got to be the Mandalorian, right?
yeah, he did. He
Yeah,
star of his own show at least.
yeah, at
Um,
least.
I don't. I agree. It does look very much like a pelican, but I think it also looks like a firefly too.
A little
Um,
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's kind of a problem. That I'd say is a takeaway because Star Wars ships look like Star Wars ships, and when they start to look like other people's ships, I think that's a knock against it personally.
well,
Yeah.
we just got space Vespas, so what do you want?
I want not space
Ciao.
Vespas. That's what I want.
Ciao.
But I do like it. I think it could have been a little bit more unique. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, but I still appreciate the fact that it was actually a created thing, and they
Yeah.
filmed it that way, and they were all excited about it, and I appreciate that enthusiasm. So let's move on here. Number 5. Oh, there it is. There she
There's Vader's
is.
TIE Fighter.
There
Yeah,
she
I
that's
think
a
it's rated
classic.
a bit low here.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's a pure classic. There's no doubt about it. I think
works.
pretty much everybody appreciates it. There's just something about it. That's Darth Vader's coming. That's That's what that is.
Yeah.
And they did a great job of presenting that in the first movie, in A New Hope, because he doesn't lose his fighter. He gets shot and he gets sent off, but he's still flying it. It's still good to go. But when he shows up in it and he's just, taking people out like it's his job, because it is.
Yeah.
It's a very appreciative. I really like that. I think
great,
another great example of making a vehicle matter is the new Batman movie. When the Batmobile first shows up and how he makes it its own character. He does a great job of that. I think George did, or whoever. George Lucas did with this as well. When it showed up, it kind of became its own character because it was so unique compared to the other ones, and because Vader's such a badass behind the stick.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He's an amazing pilot. That's also important.
Yep.
So his ship is important. And Alan, yes, the Mighty Morphin Vespas. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Vader's TIE Fighter is awesome. Yeah.
It is.
Slave
One. There it is.
There it is.
This is a great example of what we're talking about. It's a perfect example, actually, because this ship, the way you land it is not the way you fly it. That's very Star Wars.
It is.
The fact that it's hideous, right? It's not a pretty ship by any stretch of the imagination, but it is incredibly powerful. The Slave One is.
Yeah.
And it's what a bounty hunter you would think in this world would use, because it's capable of being a world unto itself. Mm-hmm. And it's extremely powerful, extremely versatile. It has unique abilities that are fairly unique to it, like its sonic mines. It's just a great ship.
And we get a great look
so
at
Star Wars
in the prequels as well. They used it really well. Very effective. Grimlock?
I'm going to say what I said with the last one. I think it's rated a bit low here because it's iconic. It's kind of weird that Boba Fett has the following that he has when his original run was so brief, but it's just one of those things you look at and you go, that looks awesome. That looks cool.
Yeah.
Even if he's the bad guy.
And what do they call it now? Because Disney's panties are way too tight?
I don't know.
If somebody, you always got to know. It's always Slave One. No, I don't need. I don't want to know. I don't need to hear it. Yeah.
Well, what they call it is they call it what the ship actually is, like the brand of it or whatever. They don't call it what he calls it because for some reason you can't even say the word slave. I don't know. There's so much wrong with that concept. It belabors my brain to explain it to people because it's just so stupid. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It hurts me. Physically causes me pain.
He's the bad guy, you dumbass. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
We go, oh, God, the X-Wing.
Specifically Luke's X-Wing for some reason.
The X-Wing.
But the X-Wing, yeah.
Yeah. What a great... And now we understand that George's naming conventions are all over the place. Yes. At one time he'll simply A-wing, it looks like an A. B-wing, it looks like a B. X-wing, he has this kind of naming convention. And then on the other side, Lando Calrissian, Han Solo. I mean, Jesus, dude. I mean, find a rhythm, brother. But
get a lane, buddy.
Yeah. But X-wings. I don't know why it's number one. I know Millennium Falcon is going to be number one, and it is a great ship. But the X-Wing is one of the greatest starfighter designs of all time. The only thing that actually would rival this would be the Viper out of Battlestar Galactica. Yeah,
and they're very similar. Anyway.
They are very similar, yeah.
But they're correct, right? Like, if you were going to make a starfighter that needs to be able to do atmospheric, it can do it all, right? It can go on planet, and it can go, spaceborne. This is pretty much how you'd have to design it for a species like a human. It's near perfection, and it was mostly accidental, but they nailed it. Like, they just nailed it, especially with its 4 engines and the way that it what's the term for it? But the wings open and close. It has a combat positions and things, and then travel position.
Makes it more maneuverable. Yeah.
Yes, it's just such a smart design. I don't know if they probably did. I'm assuming had somebody who knows aeronautics doing this or helping them with these things, because unlike the TIE Fighter, which realistically is a bad design, this is not. This is a fantastic design. and this would be probably very similar to what we would actually have if we had space fighters like this. It's just brilliantly done. There's so many ways that you can literally watch. There's out there documentaries about the ships of Star Wars, about the fleets and the things like this, and there are people who will praise the X-wing for hours because it's just so far ahead of its time because of how well it is. And if we actually had this, like I said, it would probably look something very similar to this, very similar to. And I think it should be number one. I agree with you. I'm trying to think of a more iconic ship than the X-wing, especially with Star Wars. I guess the Millennium Falcon, but I think if you do two silhouettes side by side of an X-wing, especially with its wings open, and the Millennium Falcon, people would recognize the X-wing first. Personally, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they probably would, especially since the Millennium Falcon is pretty generic looking when you take the silhouette form of it. Um, I just love the X-wing. It if without the X-wings in the first movie and the dog fighting and things, which George wanted to replicate World War II dog fighting as much as he could, which doesn't necessarily make sense in space, but whatever. I don't think that movie's as successful because I think it really helped in a way, even though it's in space and it's about spaceships fighting, the way that he shot it, the way that he told the stories with it, grounded the movie in a way because those last sequences don't work if we don't believe them. Right? The at the end where they're going against the Death Star, that doesn't work if we don't have to not suspend our disbelief. Right? If we're watching this and we're pulled out of it because the ships look ridiculous or because pick a reason, this just doesn't make sense, you lose your movie. That's it. And he nailed it. He made designs, or his art team, whoever did, he at least greenlit them, designs that work in that environment, especially, and just work in general because it looks very similar to a plane. And I think that really helps with the ending to that movie. It really helps keep it grounded because that's very important. If you when you get to the end of your film, if you lose your audience by doing something that's completely unbelievable, you lose your audience. That's it. You don't got time to get them back. And I think that really helps. Is Lucas had enough sense to understand that he had to do stuff that made sense to the audience watching it, even if scientifically it doesn't necessarily fully make sense. And I appreciate that, and I think the X-Wing's a great example of it. Uh-oh.
Is the bugbear still here?
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. What did I miss? I'm back.
I don't know. I don't know who missed what. I went on a little dissertation about how important the X-Wing is. I don't know who heard it. If anybody heard it or not.
Oh no,
I
no,
was here.
there was no problem with the stream. My dog brought a dead snake to me. Nice
Oh,
puppy.
well,
So I had to dispose of that, but I also had to check him because it's a highly poisonous snake. So I would make sure he wasn't bit,
Oh,
which is good.
that's
But
good.
good pup. I mean, that's his job.
Yeah.
But
Bring you food. Make sure you're
well,
eating.
deal with the threat. He'll deal with snakes, which it's rare. But he's scared to death of spiders, though. I don't know what that is about. But because I
But I
live
was
in the
basically saying the reason why the X-Wing is so important and why the fact that its design is so important is because at the end of the first movie, you needed to be able to believe what you're about to see.
yeah.
And having ships that look realistic
Mhm.
did that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the X-Wing is so iconic. I think it might be the most iconic ship in all of Star Wars. The Millennium Falcon and it would probably be neck and neck, I would say. And I appreciate that George had the foresight to understand that he needed
Yeah.
to make this as little fantastical as possible because if you lose your audience here, you've lost them. That's
Yeah,
it.
and
You don't get them back.
it's also kind of representing the ragtag Americans in World War II, right?
Yes.
Whereas the Imperials are the clean, ultra overly designed Germans, right?
Right.
For and it sells really really well. And they're talking about the Winnebago for Spaceballs, which is fun. But the Nostromo, now Nostromo is another good example of proper design, because what
That's
is
right.
the Nostromo? It is not a fighter ship, it is not a capital ship, it's not a destroyer or a frigate. That is a mining vehicle,
Yeah,
something like
I
that,
think
and
so.
it's really well designed for what it's supposed to be. Yeah, good design. Anyway, let's move on here. So Luke, so the X-wing's number three, iconic as it is. We know it's number one. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Rebels Ghost. I just thought it was
No,
kind of clunky.
no,
No.
just
No.
no.
No. It looks. It kind of looks like the Defiant from Star Trek.
A little bit,
But
yeah.
nah. It's not. Again, it's the problem, right? They have the aesthetic as far as it looks dirty and unkempt in a way, but it just doesn't look Star Wars to me. It
No,
doesn't
yeah.
scream Star Wars at all.
And it's equivalent to the Defiant in Star Trek if the Defiant was poorly designed,
Yes.
because that is
Yeah.
a badass ship. That is a
It
badass
is.
ship.
But also like when you're looking at some of the other ones, and there are moments in the Star Wars lore for the most part where there's like a moment, and you go back to that moment, and you're talking with people. Is anybody talking about like a moment in Star Wars Rebels with this ship?
No, no, no. It's not. It wasn't the greatest
So
choice.
why is it? So why is it on this list? Other
Uh,
than recency
bec-
bias.
because the creator of this list clearly is a younger man. This is Frank Martin. I'm sure he's
That
in his
that, that that's why I
20s.
said other than recency bias,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
I don't see it. Like you can't,
he's a younger dude.
like Thundar was saying, like a big part of New Hope was the battle, you know, right outside of the Death Star with the X Wings and the
Yep.
TIE fighters. Right? I mean,
Yeah, there's no way this should be. If this made the list at 10, I probably wouldn't complain too much. But no, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be number two. You're this clearly a young man has put this together, and that's all right. Whatever, it's his
yeah,
opinion. But this is not
yeah.
number two. It's
But
It
clearly
doesn't
not.
look
it's not more
agile
iconic.
either.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, where are the A wings? Where are the Y wings? Those things are very they're in almost every
Yep.
movie. They're
Yep.
highly important. Where are some of the other things? What about the Admiral Akbar's ship, or any of
Oh, even
those
the shuttle.
calamari ships?
Vader's shuttle is more
Vader's
iconic
shuttle.
than this
There are
thing.
so many ships that go on this over that. What about
Yeah.
the what's the dude in uh, what's the oh damn it, my brain. The Knights of the Old Republic, the bad dude ship in that is pretty badass.
Oh, the Ebon Hawk.
Yeah, the Ebon Hawk is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then of course even the ship you use is cool, would be a
No,
better
that's the Ebon
reference.
Hawk. The Ebon Hawk's the one you use.
I'm talking about the
The
bad guy
Ravager.
ship.
A Ravager.
The
That's what it's called.
Ravager, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a dumb choice. But all right, young man, that's okay. And then of course, Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
It
I
is a.
think the X-wing's more iconic
I
personally.
think so
But maybe
too.
that's just me. But I don't know. I think you see an X-wing, you immediately Star Wars. This you'd have to see, especially from this angle. You'd have to actually see it. You couldn't just see a silhouette of this, and probably, unless you're a Star Wars fan already, you're probably not going to know what that is. But if you see an X-wing, everybody knows that's Star Wars instantly. Like
Yeah,
just that's
yeah.
Star Wars, easy.
But one of the things we saw with, of course, even George did this with the Millennium Falcon being an Easter egg and distant shots and stuff in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Disney really latched onto it. Every movie has to have the Millennium Falcon. It has to be in there. They all know the Millennium Falcon, guys. We got to have the Millennium Falcon, guys. But we got to call it shit and trash because Luke said that once.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is their
yeah.
brain. But the Millennium Falcon is a cool ship. I don't. It certainly should be in the top three without question. But I think the X-wing should have been number one.
I
But
even like. I'm a heretic, Chester. I like the Jedi starfighters from the prequels. I think they look slick. I've always liked them, like the ones that Anakin and Obi-Wan fly into the third movie that they crash into the ship.
the little teeny ones,
Um,
yeah,
yep, I think those are very. If you're gonna make a sleek looking ship in Star Wars, that's what it should look like.
yeah.
And I think it's underrated. I think they're very cool looking. I've always liked them. Anakin, obviously, being Anakin, flew them with ridiculous skill. And I agree that with you that the Falcons should be top three easily, probably even number two. But I still say X-wing is the king. Is the king of the ships or the queen? Would it be queen? Yeah, ships are girls, so it's the queen of the ships. The X-wing.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I agree. And Millennium Falcon is a cool ship though, and
Yeah.
it is certainly part of the history of it. But there are so many ships, it is hard to make a list, I suppose. But that was fun. Definitely a bonus. Sabine's Tie Fighter. Why? Because she painted it. Fuck off. What the hell's wrong with you, dude? Bonus. This is a young man. This is a young
Yeah.
man. Would you like to guess? Let's take a guess at how old Frank is here. Nothing against him. I mean, if Frank, Young's good too. But how old do you think
Um,
Frank is here?
I'd say no older than late 20s, probably.
I'd say he's probably right around 25, 26.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My kid's age is what he is.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, that was fun though. That was definitely a fun little interlude. Let's see how is the fun is the fun. I mean, I think the fun continues.
Yeah, this looks good. Final Fantasy 16 release date announced. Action JRPG gameplay revealed. I don't personally like that. I I wish we could get turn based back, but we probably never will. But if it plays good, it plays good. That's really all that matters.
True.
And I'm looking forward to this. I like the fact that they seem to have a heavy focus on the old summons, as they're called. Um, I appreciate that. I think a lot of the Final Fantasy games for a while now haven't really focused on them as much, and they're one of the few things that carry through to pretty much every game are the things these titanic creatures you can summon that do insane amounts of damage or whatever you need them to do. Um, I hopefully they're going somewhere with that. I don't know. I didn't watch the full thing. I just saw a bit of it. But 16 does look good. It looks like a return to form, much more fantasy setting.
Hmm.
So hopefully it's as good as it looks. I'm one of the few people who didn't hate 15. I know a lot of Final Fantasy fans really didn't like 15.
Yeah.
But the problem with 15 is it just was simply unfinished. I know it took them 10 years, but they reset the clock 3 years before they released it, and the story just wasn't told. It's not even
No,
that it was a
no.
bad story; it just wasn't told. They didn't
Right.
tell it in the game.
Yeah.
Once
No.
they finished the story, it was actually pretty good. But I get why. I get why people disliked it and why they were disappointed,
Hmm.
especially since the original 15 was going to be versus 13, or versus 13 was what became it, and it looks so cool. But I don't mind Final Fantasy returning back to a more fantasy setting. I think it'll probably do it some good, and hopefully this game is a return to form, and we can, because we haven't had a great Final Fantasy game, single player game especially, in 20 years, I'd
It's been a
say.
while.
It
It's been a while. But you talked about the RTS aspect of it. But with Final
Yep.
Fantasy 14, they'll never go back to RTS, dude. They'll never go
Yep.
back. Yeah.
Turn time or
Yeah.
turn yeah
Yeah.
turn
Turn
based,
based art. Yeah. They won't do it.
and that's a
Uh,
shame because I think I still don't think we've even come close to pushing the envelope of that style of combat. I think there's a lot of people who are they still make them, right? There's still companies who put that RTS actiony or
sure.
turn-based style game out there, but man, there's just so much you could do with that. With a mid-battle pause, what you could actually set up, and the thing you could set up cool combos and stuff,
Mhm.
and we just don't. Very few games have even touched the potential, I think,
Yeah. Well, no.
and that's a shame.
There's a ton of indie roguelike type games that have the
Yep.
isometric RTS setup. There are
Yep.
tons of them. So yeah, it's not gone. It's just not. You're not going to see it with Final Fantasy. You're not going to get Sony's not going to play that game. But the problem here is they got all these pictures, but the video that this whole article is based on says that this video is age restricted and only available on YouTube. Okay, so
Okay.
let's see how age restricted it is, shall we? I won't
I
play
didn't
the
see
sound
anything
because
about it that was.
I'll get hammered. So,
I didn't see anything age restricted about it. Maybe I missed it.
in a world ruled by tyranny and turmoil, there are those who would fight to take back control of their fate. Ooh. Who are we? What are the dominants? The power we wield. It wears away at our very beating. Oh, you guys can read it. Some of it looks good, some of it doesn't. Aw, romance. Her knees are buckled. Get on that. Ooh. Okay, what do we got? Oh, they're doing like that, huh?
hmm
Is this a mobile game?
No, at least I don't think so. They haven't announced it to be yet.
I'm looking at the controls on the side. Ooh,
I,
there's your sexiness. Backs,
I could
upper
imagine the
backs.
rage if they'd have done that.
Final Fantasy 16 mobile. The
Oh man, the
full mobile
rage.
game.
Diablo,
Yep.
immortally.
Oh, you guys don't have phones? Bro.
Idiots. Okay, I saw naked upper backs. That must be the age restriction, I guess, because there's no blood here. Yeah, the fiery effects aren't working for me though. They're not it's not working good. Well, lightning looks good. Oh, one of those thingies. Yeah, it's definitely a more fantasy element to it.
Oh, yeah. There's my girl. There's old Shiva.
I'm still waiting for the age restricted stuff. Am I going to get a nipple? Do I get a nip slip?
No, no nipple for you.
I
There
deserve
had no.
one. All the old gods.
Ifrit.
Okay.
I still don't see my boy, the train. I can't remember his name now, but the train summon has a name too, and he never haven't had him in a game in a long time. There's Ifrit. There he is.
All right. So, all right. Fine. I
Next
don't know
year.
why that had to be restricted to adult. I don't know why.
Yeah,
But oh,
I'm confused.
yeah, I'm confused. But whatever. Um, yeah, I'll have to try the gameplay and see it for myself. But Final Fantasy is certainly a moneymaker. And if they pull it off well, the fans will love it and they'll make a shitload of money. And that's the end of the
It is,
conversation,
but
right?
I got a question. Maybe it's me, but hasn't it felt like the last few Final Fantasies you just catch yourself saying the same thing? It's like some of it looked cool. I like some of it.
Yeah,
It's like there's not.
yeah.
It's there hasn't been like any part of it that like blows you away.
No. And for me personally though, this is more of a personal bias. I don't
Yeah,
like the look of modern Japanese anime or style. I don't like the
yeah,
modern look. And this is not, of course, an anime, but it feels like it. It's very Japanese. And I don't like the modern aesthetic of Japanese, art stuff. Me personally.
yeah.
So,
And I'm not saying like every game has to be like this amazing, bring tear to your eyes kind of moment watching them, but I just
there better be some
it's
though.
it's yeah, it's like there was like I see it's like okay, I've seen it before. It looks some of it looks cool, and you just end up going, well, maybe if the story's good, maybe if I'm at that stage where like okay, maybe if I see somebody play it and it looks cool, I'll buy it. But
There was a game I was playing some years back, and it had very much Final Fantasy feel to it. Had the similar aesthetic. I can't remember the name of it, but it had a great storyline that was going along just fine. And you're
yeah,
basically the whole story basically your brother you're the brother, or I guess you could have played the sister. I think you had that option, but you're the strong one. I played the brother, and you're fighting to get you and your sister to a safe place, right? And during the storytelling, you'll never succeed. In about like 2/3 through, spoilers, the sister dies, right? And it was very emotional for like half a second because as she's dying, she says she loves you in so many words, but it isn't the that I love you, brother. It's like I love you, brother, like
Yeah.
sexually. And I was like, huh? It took me completely out of it. I was digging it. Was like, oh no, I fucked up. I thought I fucked up, and I was going to have to do a save and redo it, but it's built in. You can't get around it. But then it took me right out of it. It's like, what? Huh? What? Freaking Japanese, man.
Weird,
It's weird, dude.
weird
It's
people.
weird.
But it took me completely out of it. I was so into it. I was like, ah, it was really emotional, as Grimlock had just mentioned. And then all of a sudden, I'm not emotional. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, game? But anyway, uh, the world's gotten weird, dude. But
Very.
yeah. But then again, if you saw my sister, you'd understand my point of view. Oof, oof. Yeah, you didn't have to have that burden, I
I'm,
suppose.
I'm not not touching that one,
Yeah,
Chester.
don't
Not
touch it.
touching it.
That's the point. Don't touch it. Yeah. But it looks pretty in general, but there, like you said, Grimlock, there are certain things that don't look good. I don't know. But you can't you can't judge a thing by its trailer, whether it be movie or game. You have to experience it or live vicariously through other people's experiences, I suppose, and make a choice.
I
But
mean, yeah, I mean that's true too. But like, there's certain games like you've seen the trailer
yeah.
and it's like, holy fuck.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The last few Final Fantasy like games, it's like, okay, it's a Final Fantasy game.
I think Square
It's like,
Enix is not on the proper road of thinking, and they haven't been that way for a while. And that's why everyone was really, really happy when BioWare got away from them here recently, right?
yeah,
So I think Square Enix has a problem, which means Sony has a problem. We know Sony has a problem, so there you go. But it
oh
doesn't
yeah.
mean it's not going to be awesome. We'll just have to wait and see because I know it's anticipated for sure. And yeah, but I mean, it's at least it's good news. Whew, whew. Thundero,
Uh-oh.
we got our last
Uh-oh.
story. Are you ready? This is our last one.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm gonna stretch out a little bit,
Oh,
get those kinks out. Oh,
you
pop, pop.
better.
Okay, here we go.
I'm sorry, Discovery Plus, quote, Generation Drag exposes how drag queens are used to groom damaged children.
Okay,
Oh boy.
now I don't know about you guys, but I know my wife and my wife is very emphatic on it because children, women protect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she cannot stand those beauty pageant things. She thinks
Yep.
those mothers are absolutely horrid, right?
Yeah.
The other type of the rubbernecking, I call it a rubbernecking show. I'm sure there's a terminology for it. I just don't live in the States. But those kind of shows where you're not sympathetic or even compassionate to the situation. You just want to see a train wreck in progress, right? The
Yep.
teenage pregnancy, the fat people who are dying. The like my wife was watching the suffering porn the other day, which is just heroin addicted people who are literally rotting from the inside out. These kinds of things where people are not actually like, oh, they're more like, oh my God, look at this disaster. These kind of things play to the most base and sick part of the human mind, in my opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
never watch those kind of things. Matter of fact, with that show my wife was watching, I'm like, why do you watch this crap? Yes,
Right.
drugs are bad. And the reason why it continues is because the stupid government thinks it's better to give them free needles than to get them off the goddamn street, right? That would be
Yep.
actual compassion. But anyway, this falls into this category, is what it is, because it's following and showing this off. Now, I don't understand. Um, the beauty pageant thing is technically legal. It's disgusting, but it's technically legal. And I guess this is technically legal too. But Grimlock, since I know you're a man of years and wisdom, would you please give me a definition or a descriptor to tell me what is a drag queen?
If I'm not mistaken, I thought it was a man who dresses up as a woman and acts as a caricature of a woman.
That's true. But is there more to it? Because that could just be a transvestite, right?
Honestly, I don't know
Well,
because it's something I've never had any interest in.
I do know the answer. Because it's exactly what you said, plus bawdy vaudeville atmosphere,
Hmm.
right? And I know I'm using a very old term, but the drag queen thing is about dirty jokes. It's about sexual innuendo. Some of them are more direct, but the funnier ones are the ones that stick to the innuendo. If you go watch, if you've ever seen a show or you go watch some of the drag queen things, actual real drag queens. Now they're more than likely gay too. They're gay as well, but they're it's like a clown show, and they know it. They ham it up. They goof in and they're having fun. They're playing actually. Real drag queens can actually be quite entertaining from an adult point of view. And but it's very bawdy. It's very sexually innuendo. It's overly sexual because it's comedy. It's entertainment, is what it is. Now, our
Would be
chill.
really pissed about what happened in Texas last night.
I don't don't get me on a tangent, please. I don't know what you're talking about, and I probably don't want to. But the thing with
No,
this is basically trying to force children into that same environment. Now, a beauty
right.
pageant is disgusting because they have little girls, they're dressing up in overly sexualized costumes and getting up there and twerking and doing nonsense on the stage. My wife was unfortunately watching The Boys. And oh my God, that show pissed me off, dude. But they have Starlight, of course, and she's remembering back to her little beauty pageant days, and it was we both of us was like ew, right? And I don't think that was put there to ooh, but we oohed at it, right? But the thing that pissed me off, I told her don't put that shit on in front of me, because like we those of us here we know The Boys. It's one of the greatest comic book story series in history. It just is, right?
Right.
Beginning, middle, end, right? It's a great, great, great idea, and it has quite a bit of politic in it, but it's done in the right way, and it's wonderful. And they put in these idiots put in the show that Starlight thought it would be a good idea to play along with Homelander's idea of trying to embarrass her and say that they're in love, and she actually gave him a kiss right in front of the camera, and it blew my freaking brain, dude, because you do realize that in The Boys, Homelander is such an absolute monster that the government does so much in this series to try to cover up the antics of these horrible superheroes because of the problems they have, and that's where the boys are there for. They're there to deal with it, right? But in the comic book, if she did that, Homelander, as soon as he got her backstage, he would have took her off and raped her. That's what the Homelander would do, right? So you first of all you've cucked the Homelander, which takes away all his power anyway, right? But there's no way Starlight would do that. And I understand she's just trying to stay in position and she's trying to do what Huey told her to do. But this insane. Anyway, you got me off track. God damn it. Um, but
You
this
did that
thing,
to yourself.
I know, I always do. But this is what they're doing with this. It's a beauty pageant with even more sexualization put on top of it, literal sexual innuendo directly involved. And instead of it being girls, it's boys. Look at this little kid. His mom has been telling him how wonderful all these things are. Of course, a child always wants to appease the power figure around them, the mom, the dad. They always want to, it's a self-protection trigger inside the body, right? Inside the mind. So he's doing
Right.
that. And I got to look at all these beautiful things I got. And it turns into this. Now, why would any mother want their son to be fucked? Let's stop for half a second here and wonder why a mother would want her son to be sodomized. Because that's what she's doing here. That's what she wants. What mother would want that for her son? Do they not aspire for their son to grow up, get a wife, and make some babies so they can be a grandma? Is that not the intention? Because look at this. Look what they've done to this little kid. That is literally a fuck me outfit. It's not even funny like drag is. Drag is more funny. This is more real. Drag, they'll wear very clowny makeup and it's over the top. It's supposed to be a joke. It's entertaining, right?
Yeah,
This is
it's
not what this
parody.
is. This is a fuck me outfit for a little boy. Dude, dude. And I don't understand how this is not pissing people off to freaking bloody rage.
It is. Just not enough. And I think you're going to see more of it, hopefully, because if something doesn't give here, that this is how civilizations die. We know how they die. We've
Yeah.
watched. We have that. It's not a mystery what happened to Rome. It was degeneracy. That's what happened to Rome.
It was, and they fell into isolation and separation, and that's what happened. Yeah, but I mean, but you
Yep.
understand the point I'm trying to make, guys. This actually isn't drag queening. That's not what this is right here. That's not
No.
drag queen. Drag queen is always been comical because that's the point. It's entertainment. You don't walk around life as a drag queen. You walk around life as a transvestite, or these days a transgender, because well, that involves surgery. But that's a different. This drag queening is entertainment. It's comedic. There's nothing
Right.
comedic about this. There is nothing comedic
Correct.
about this. Dude, I would bloody somebody, dude.
Yeah.
I tell him, if I lived in America, I'd be in jail, dude, or dead.
Good. Chester, that's good. That's proper rage. No, it's bad, man. It's real bad, and we have a lot of people who I think the tide is turning against this stuff. At least I fucking hope
That
so.
picture pisses me.
It was going on without people knowing it for a long time, and then now, they clearly have the blessing of corporate America for some reason. It's disgusting. I don't know how anybody could defend it. I really, truly don't really want to even associate with people who defend it. I have nothing for them. I think it's barbaric. It's everything that we were supposed to be. We're supposed to be better than the people who sexualize children, right? That's what we told ourselves for the last 20 years as we blow up their countries. And yet here we are allowing this shit to happen right in our backyard.
Yeah. Now,
And
you know,
there are places who have pushed back against it, who have literally outlawed it. I know my state was working on it. I don't know if it ever succeeded in that attempt yet, but I know one of the people who I know is actually in the state government, and I went to high school with him, and he and I would talk about it, and he said, yeah, we're working on it, and I haven't talked to him in a while. But this sort of stuff has to end, or your civilization ends. And I'm not being hyperbolic.
No, you're not. It's not good, dude. It's really not good. And the thing here is they went from we aren't grooming your children, you silly people, to they're just simply saying protect trans kids. Here's the thing though. Now I know there, and this is a small percentage, the majority of people around you who call themselves gay weren't born that way. They chose.
Mm-hmm.
It's an environmental choice. They're a cultural choice. They're not born that way. Some people are. It's a very low percentage. And it has to do with the balance of testosterone versus estrogen, whether boy or girl, in the mother as the baby is forming. We know this. Trinity College has been doing a 30-year, more over 30-year study on it. It's well documented. Now, beyond that, however, this might be true in the long run when they start getting into sexuality when they get older. I've been teaching children for over 20 years. And I can, and in elementary school mainly, right? I do all ages, but it's mainly elementary school. And I can tell you very plainly and very, very simply, especially with boys, there is no such thing as a trans boy. They don't exist.
Right.
There's no such thing as a gay boy. They don't exist. I know you have some of these gays, famous ones that come out. So I knew when I was young. Bullshit, you did. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. Especially boys, because boys are slow. This is just the reality of it. It takes boys a while to catch up to the girls. It just does, right? And when they do, then everything equalizes, right? But boys are just slow, and it makes sense because girls need to grow up quicker because they got to pop those babies out as a young teen. I mean, that's just how it works. The boys don't, right? They have more time to develop. So I'm guaranteeing you there is no such thing as a gay boy. There's no such thing, and you can't prove it to me. I have 20 years of experience around thousands of kids. I've never
Yep.
seen a spark of it. Now, girls can become a little bit what's the word? Starts with P. My brain just went away from me. Precocious
Yes.
at a younger age. True. I have seen a little bit of precociousness from girls I don't know, about as 10 maybe. Ooh, 9 or 10. I have seen a few. Most of them
Yeah.
don't really start getting precocious to around 12 or 13, which makes sense. Puberty is a rather important aspect when it comes to sexuality. Oh, who knew? But so well, I'm just saying. So girls around that 10-year-old age, you can get a little bit of that kind of precociousness coming up. But
Hmm.
boys, never. I've never seen it ever, 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 ever. And I've literally taught and been around thousands of children, right? Because not only do I have my own school, I also teach at the elementary schools. I go to events. I've been around so many children, and it's great. I love my job. I enjoy it. Kids are great. I love making them laugh. It's fun for me, which is good because if you don't like your job, don't do it. But I'm just
Right.
telling you, this is bullshit. It's complete bullshit, especially with boys. There is no such thing as a trans kid. There is no such thing. How old is this kid? How old is this kid? We want to guess.
Oh,
He's
9 or
starting to
10,
lengthen,
maybe.
maybe. He's
Yeah.
starting to his legs are obviously getting longer on him, so I'd say maybe 10, right? So it's just no. This is programming because boys, when that puberty hits. And they're coming up to puberty. That's when that hammer in the back of the head starts, right? We all men here listening to me know exactly what
Oh,
I'm
yes.
talking about. And that little hammer goes on for your entire life. Spoilers. But the boy around that time will start knowing that sex is something, right? But here, let me give you another example. Like I have a bunch of junior high school classes. I got one class particularly on my Friday it's just giant. I have so many kids. I barely have enough chairs to accommodate the class. And it's fairly evenly split, boy and girl. There's more boys than girls, but it's fairly even. Now, even at that junior high school age, which is 12, 13, right? 14, around that age. Even at that age, you can tell that the girls are thinking a little bit about boys, but they won't admit it, right? But the boys, even though you know it's in their brain somewhere, they're still in the stage of girls icky cooties. They're still in that age. Now, I know culturally you can find 12, 13, 14-year-olds that are a little bit more amorous in their actions and thoughts than you will here in Japan, sure. But it's just insane. This whole idea of the trans child, particularly, of course, it's all about the boys. No one ever talks about it, gives a shit about the dykes. Nobody, right? You never hear
Right.
any conversations about the dykes at all. No, it's always about the boys. This whole trans thing, they should just call it making boys girls because that's all they talk about and that's all they care about, right? They don't give a shit
Yes.
about the girls at all, right? But that's the reality. So, therefore, how do we get this boy in this highly sexualized situation? Who did this? He didn't do this. It's not his choice. So who did this?
Uh, his mother, probably.
His mother.
Yeah,
And where's the
Yeah.
dad? Where's the father?
probably nowhere to be found.
If he's around, he's irrelevant. He's not a man, and he's not behaving like a man because he's allowing his son to be brutalized emotionally and hopefully not physically, but definitely emotionally. For what? To make his woman happy, or to make society give him brownie points or
I don't
money?
know. I don't know how any man
I
thinks
go
this way.
back to the old. I go back to the old adage from Jesus himself. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Yeah.
Well, what does it profit you, bud? Is it worth it?
Yeah. Well,
Is
the
it
thing
worth it?
is, if I came home and I saw my woman had dressed my son up like this, even in a joke, I would grab her up by the back of her skull and I'd walk her out the
Yep.
house, and she wouldn't
Yep.
come
Bye
back
bye.
in.
No,
Right? I wouldn't. No,
that's
no
that's enough of you.
violence, nothing like that. I just walk her out the house, and it would be done.
Yep.
How dare
No, I
you
agree with you.
even insinuate the idea?
Chester, this kind of stuff at a much less direct fashion has been happening to young men my entire life. The difference with me is I noticed it at a very young age that the school system specifically wanted me to behave like a girl. It wanted me to be quiet and demure. It wanted me to not ruffle feathers or ask questions.
Yeah.
It wanted me to just conform,
Well,
which is very feminine thinking.
it is, but
And
it's also the way the school systems are designed. The
well, they're
way that
designed they're designed with this intention in
well,
directly, but
you
it's
might,
gotten worse, is what I'm
yeah,
saying to you.
you might
It's
be,
really, really, really bad now, and that's where they're getting a lot of this stuff from as well. They want, and as you just said, it's about turning young men into girls. That's what they want. It's so insipid and it's so pervasive in the system that it's in the schools, it's in the way they're taught, it's in the way they're rewarded, it's in the way they're what's the word I'm looking for, criticized. It's in the way they're separated, meaning discerned about, the way they're graded. All of it is done with a very feminine frame, from a feminine frame. That's hard to say. Uh, it's done very much so with the feminine in mind. The masculine side of a young man is never even addressed. In fact, if you try to address it, you're some sort of bigot. We have to pretend that masculinity is evil, and that if it exists at all, it is always a negative. And this was
yeah,
happening to me 30 years ago in
yeah.
school,
Yeah,
Chester.
no, I
30
understand.
years ago.
It really got bad after I got out. No, I understand that, but you have to understand the inception and where it is now. When they started putting the school system and the idea of the school system together around 800 years ago, right? They really based it upon the Aristotelian thinking, right?
Yep.
Of how you educate. So we can blame Aristotle if you'd like. And as time
Yes.
was going by, they've taken advantage of it. Because the simple fact of the matter is, you can take a boy, putting him into a feminine learning environment, and they can thrive. They can, but it's not
Mhm.
optimal. Whereas girls
No.
sitting down, quietly listening, taking notes, those kind of things, it's very feminine way to learn. It's normal.
That's
Not
right.
all girls, but most. Boys are much more
Right.
hands-on, much more curious and
Their
tactile.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. However, a boy can thrive in that situation. I'm a perfect
Yeah.
example,
I did.
right?
I did.
This
I
twisting
like I said
is more
once.
modern, is my point.
Well, it's just a continuation of it. So like I said on here once, I would have easily been the valedictorian of my school if I wanted to be. I had everything I needed. I could have graduated 2 years early if the state would have let me. They just wouldn't. I had everything I needed to do it. I just simply didn't want to, and because I knew they didn't want me to. So what happened is the girl who got it actually had a crush on me pretty much all throughout high school, but I wasn't interested. And I just went up to her one day and I said, "Listen, I know you're worried about it. I know it means a lot to you. I'm going to make sure you win." And I did. I made sure I flubbed a class just so she would get it. And she obviously was very happy and very excited about it. And somebody asked me why I did that, and I just told them because that's who they want. They don't want me. They don't want a guy to have that. They want this. They want a girl, so they can hold it up as some kind of bullshit.
Achievement, yeah.
And yeah, and this whole thing comes from that same mentality. That same mindset is pervasive and perverse. It's kind of like how I try to tell people that libertarianism and communism are basically the same thing because one's the bastard child of they're both bastard children of classical liberalism. Communism, extreme egalitarianism, equalitarianism, meaning equity, is just egalitarianism taken to a logical extreme. That is the same thing that's happening here. They want the system for whatever reason. You could come up with why, if it was designed this way or if it's just an accident, doesn't matter. It wants females. It wants them
It
to be
does.
empowered, and it
does.
wants them over the male.
That is
And
Yeah.
That is what this is. This is just that taken to the extreme. That's all it is.
And that's my point I was trying to make. It's just been taken to
Yeah.
the extreme. However, here in Illinois, not New York City, not Las Vegas, or I mean Los Angeles or San Francisco, Illinois, and it's certainly not Chicago because I don't see any black people anywhere. Right, so
Mhm.
this is outside of Chicago, and you're racist, you fuck off. Okay, but this is in an elementary school. It's gonna be middle school. Now, the teachers okayed this. The principal signed off on it. Look at all these girls screaming for it. Look at it. Look at this shit. Now, It could be worse. She might start twerking in a second. It could be worse. But why? Why? Why is this?
I can tell you why.
At least they're more. At least this one's more drag queeny though. That is the way it should be. It's comedic, right?
Still shouldn't be. This no.
Okay, so why in a school? Why anywhere near a school? If the parent wants to take their kid to this, I would think we have a rating system for a reason. Okay, but in the school, a public school with taxpayer funding.
So, yeah, just so we're clear, taxpayers, you're funding this. Hope you're okay with that. Hope that sits well in your bellies. It's very simple because they can. They think they can. They literally think, Chester, they own these people's children. Those aren't your children. They're their children. You're nothing but the parent. You're just a parent.
Yeah, no,
These children belong to us.
But when I was a kid, if that happened, police would come and arrest people, literally.
They should.
Well,
they should now.
A big part of this is also going back to what we have discussed numerous times, is the fact that many parents up until COVID was not involved, with the ins and outs of what their kids was dealing with in school at all.
Well, that's their fault. That's their error.
It is their error, but that has become such a common thing. And the other thing that has made this I wouldn't say acceptable thing is that too many people are afraid to say no because they're afraid of being called a bigot or an Islamophobe by people that don't know them online.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Yeah, because I would definitely be noisy.
Well, yes, but you see, the thing is, you're not scared of it.
No,
a lot of
not
people
at all.
are. A lot of people are so obsessed with themselves and how they look in front of other people that even something that they could find reprehensible, they will not say it out loud because somebody might call me an Islamophobe, and then I have to defend myself. And because most people, as said before, most people in this country are reactive. They're not proactive.
Nah, that's not good.
They're-
Because who is
they're not-
proactive? You know who is proactive? The progressives.
Yeah.
Very
Well, parents should be and that shouldn't even be a partisan point. Parents, you should be active in your fucking kid's life. I mean, no, I'm not saying you have to be a perfect parent. I mean, most people don't get perfect parents.
No,
but I
you
mean,
should try. If you try, you'll get it right in the end. It's just about effort.
I mean,
yeah.
But yes, a lot and Chester, like I said, this will make you mad. That's not even the worst thing I've seen involving drag queens and kids this week.
No. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Hold on to it. But this is from the libs at TikTok, not from the Babylon Bee. I stress.
Yep.
This is not the Babylon Bee. This is libs at TikTok, and all the libs at TikTok does that. The lady who's in charge of that, all she does is take their own words and their own actions and just puts it in front of you. That's all she does.
Yep.
Right. And I don't know who she is, but she's probably a mom. Right. But anyway, that in Arizona, a similar situation where a drag queen show at the school, right? Different school in Arizona. A teacher arranged a drag show for students and was later arrested after allegedly, we only use that word when it comes to progressives anymore. Have you noticed that?
And
Yeah.
female teachers.
But allegedly, are female teachers. For men, the word allegedly has been dropped from the vernacular of the so-called journalist. Allegedly having sex with a student. Okay, 15-year-old. Now, what this article doesn't tell me, because the day, and I have to ask this question because of the day and age we live in. Was she having sex with a 15-year-old boy or a 15-year-old girl?
I'm gonna
That's a
say
good
girl.
question.
Well, which would piss you off more?
Equally,
Yeah.
me.
Well,
But most society, it would be probably a girl.
Yeah.
But for me, it would be equally because I don't make those weird delineations that a lot of people do in society between boys and girls. I think they're minors are minors. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's probably you're probably onto something there,
Mhm.
and the fact that it's not mentioned at the front of the article probably gives you your answer.
Yeah.
But it's pretty freaking weird. Like I would like the people who put these things together. I'd like to just talk to them. Now, I'm not going to yell at them. I just want to talk. Like, why do you think that's appropriate to do in front of children? Because you go back to those videos and you watch them, right? And you hear these screaming and all this hollering and yelling. What do you think a young man looking at that thinks? What do you think a 13-year-old boy thinks watching that?
Yeah. No, it's disgusting. It's wrong. Don't put sexuality in front of children at all. Stop it.
Well,
Stop
here's
it.
my
It's
point.
not your job.
If you do that, if you put that in front of him and you see that this person's getting all these cheers and all this praise and everything, and he's like, well, all I gotta do is dress up like a girl? Shit! I'll dress up like a girl if everybody will love me for it.
Tessa Thompson.
Boom.
Tessa Thompson. Or no, that
Yeah.
one too. But the swimming
Leah
Leah Thompson. Yeah.
Tessa Thompson.
That one too, though. That one too. That qualifies.
well,
Yeah, it qualifies. Yeah, it qualifies.
well.
But anyway, here's the thing. Now, obviously, 15 is right on the edge. Because me personally, 16 is really where it should be. It should be relaxed. Because 16 years old, for a girl particularly, is when they can really start making babies safely, right? And so biologically, the biology is telling us 16. Okay, fine. And boys, well, if you got to have it for the girls, you got to have it for the boys, even though technically boys should wait a bit because they're not as mature. But anyway, whatever. So 15 is definitely cutting it, dude. That is right on the edge, and that number, that 15, is going to irritate a lot of people. 14 would piss people off, right? 15 is right on the edge of it. However, the reason I asked the question, because it is clear by looking at the articles and they don't mention it. Having a standard heterosexual normal dalliance with her student, a male student, is one thing. And, it's not right. Knock it off, leave the kids alone, you fuckers. But other than that, at least it's a normal, interactive thing that the boy will experience for the rest of his life. However, a 15-year-old girl, you are taking someone who's certainly impressionable, just like the boy, but you're putting them into a homosexual situation. And this is something I think a lot of people don't seem to acknowledge. And I think it's the whole point of the alphabet salad that we keep being given, this LGBTQRXYZ plus, right? The reason they do that is because they don't want to attach the word homosexual to females when it is homosexuality. It is.
Yes.
Now, I understand there's a certain biological trigger in women that allow that in the harem setting, because that's, when you go really far back, that's what women were in that situation. You have one male and has many females. I get it. So that trigger is there. It doesn't have that kind of disgusting, revulsion that it does in men with women. I get it. Okay, but still,
But I'm
it's
looking at this
troublesome.
too, and I'm thinking, even for the girls, like, that's not healthy to put in front of them.
No, it's not.
Because you think about a young girl, and she goes, "Is that what boys want to do?
Yeah.
Just wear my clothes?"
It's not. It's more than
Like,
that. It's not just the clothing. It's the sexuality. It's the
yeah,
feminine
that
nature.
too.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, no, there's there used to be a saying called "There's a time and place for everything,"
Oh
and
yeah,
people just
it's a
don't.
good one.
I don't know why people act like it is so offensive to say no. You shouldn't have full-grown fucking drag queens in front of kids
No,
of any age.
no, you shouldn't.
I'm
No,
I
I
agree.
agree.
I, I'm sorry, especially you liberals out there, especially the ones who just been screaming for the last 2 weeks that a kid shouldn't be able to use a gun, but having a full grown man in a dress twerking in front of him, that's okay.
And them twerking next to him, that's okay. Yeah,
Y-
yeah, and
Or
Yeah.
not even in a dress. Sometimes just basically naked at like pride parades with their dicks
yeah,
hanging out.
that's
You know.
true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
seen that this week. Yeah.
it is disgusting. Of course, here we are in June, so get ready. This is going to be the
Oh yeah.
worst. No, it's going to be the worst June ever. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad
Yeah.
because they've been under a lot of pressure. And what do these people do? They double down. That's what they do.
Yep.
They never accept responsibility ever. So you got to. This is going to be an outrageous and already starting. Just noise coming from everywhere about. Oh my God, it's June, right? That's so strap
I
in,
like your
baby.
gay voice.
Well,
Oh, your gay voice is
It's Ethel
awesome.
Myrtle is what it is.
Well, that's what all of their voices are. Come on.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry. Listen. I understand homosexuals. That's cool. That's great. Go do your thing.
yeah,
But the affectation is fake. Stop it.
yeah. No,
Nobody actually talks like
they're
that.
cosplayers, dude. They're
Yes.
cosplayers. That's what they are. Yeah, they're cosplayers. But it's certainly not good for the boys or the girls. I agree. But here we have in Jasper, Indiana, a pride event with a drag queen performance is being advertised for all ages, and they are encouraging kids to bring cash to tip the drag queens. When did drag queens become strippers? Somebody, please, somebody.
I don't know.
When did that happen?
Question.
Because that's not what drag
I,
queens are.
I don't know. Maybe it's the economy. Everything
Oh
else is being blamed on the economy. Maybe
God, yeah.
maybe it's not enough to just be a drag queen anymore.
Putin
Oh
did
my
it.
God! Look at that creature. Oof.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeesh. That's
Now
terrifying.
the one here in white and the one here in yellow. This is actual drag queeniness. It's
Yeah.
comedic.
Yeah.
It's as it should be because it is comedic. Now, if this person is actually a transvestite in real life, they would dress more like the ones here on the right? Because
Right.
that's who they want to be. They are a transvestite or transgender or whatever. This is drag queen. This is not, right? But one again, family friendly drag. No, there's no such thing. Drag shows are not about family friendly. They're about adult body
Yeah.
entertainment. That's the point, right?
I agree. You have to have lines somewhere. There has to be one somewhere. Holy shit.
Okay. Here's a drag teacher deciding to do a little show for her
What?
students. Yes, no, seriously, this is many examples. This is a teacher in the school dragging on the stage for his students. Now, here's the thing. That. Thank you very much. But here's the thing. That's enough of
Oh.
that. Here's the thing. I am a teacher, right?
Yeah.
I'm 20 years a teacher, right? So it's not like I'm some new kindergarten teacher or which is not even really a teacher. It's called a babysitter. Okay, an actual teacher, and it is an effort, especially in the beginning. After you get used to it, it's pretty easy. But there's an effort to keep an image of what you are for the students. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because as a teacher, there are many responsibilities, and it's a very important job. We all know this, right? But one of the aspects of being a teacher is controlling the room, right? Just like a comedian or an entertainer on stage, you need to be able to control the room in whatever the venue you're in. Now, in a school classroom, you need to be able to have fun with kids, let them laugh, but when you want to shut it down and get serious, they immediately do so. You need that kind of control in the classroom to be a teacher. It's essential, right? And there's a certain patter to it, right? And it depends on who you are. There's more than one way to skin a cat, of course. With me, it's it's that male aura can shut down the room, but it also can make them laugh, right? It's very, very important. Now, why would you, as a teacher, put this up here and therefore make your job more difficult? Walking in front of your students like this, you're changing the vision of you in their eyes, and you're weakening your ability to control the room. Now, for all I know, this dude is a shit teacher anyway, and doesn't never have control of the room anyhow. So maybe it doesn't matter in this case. But I would never do anything like that because I cannot lower myself or adjust myself in the eyes of my student. My students, they must see me as Cheto Sensei, right? I am sensei, and I must be that at all times, right? Or otherwise, I'm going to give myself a whole shitload of headaches. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
So,
do.
why would
Absolutely.
you do this? I don't understand.
I don't either. But then again, I don't understand the appeal of it anyway. Like, it does nothing for me. But especially in this context, like you're saying, all you're doing is undermining yourself.
You are.
Um,
That's the word.
you think, especially, let's say these are, I don't know what age these kids are, but let's say they're junior high school. You think they're going to take you seriously after that?
Nope.
No,
No.
no,
And it's tough
no.
enough for those kids anyway. And
Yeah,
and it's a very different approach. Elementary kids, junior high kids are the most difficult because they're in a transition age. High school kids,
yeah.
and with high school kids, they're become very opinionated. They think they know something, right? And
Oh, yes.
well, we're all like that. It's just normal.
Yeah.
And so how do I deal with a different? Because I teach different age groups. Most teachers don't, right? With the little kids, it's funny, and it's a presence of authority, right?
That's right.
But that authority, when allowed, we can laugh and have fun, and they do. The kids, I'm doing it long enough that it's very smooth, the transitions, right? Junior high school kids, it's more about being funny and that aura, but it's also about turning it on them if they think they're going to get clever, right? They make a joke, and I'll turn the joke right back on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is how you deal with junior high school kids. High school kids, however, is a different game. You certainly want to entertain them. There's not as much jovialness in a high school class as there would be in a younger kid class, but there's some. And you still have that male's, the authority aura. You certainly have that. But the way I deal with the high school kids is the real power is I am just smarter than you by a lot, and I let them know that without saying it, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be arrogant. You constantly have to uh, combat yourself with
Oh,
foibles, right? You
yes,
don't want
yes,
to do
Chester.
that.
You're real good at containing your arrogance.
Well, not here, because I don't give a shit. It's just having a good, having a fun. But seriously, you have to control that in reality,
Yeah.
but no, that's how I do with the high school kids. I dazzle them with knowledge, and
Knowledge.
you are nowhere near as smart as I am. And
Yep.
therefore what it does is it reverses the field. They'll still question other things, they'll still point out other things, but when it comes to you, you know what they do? They ask your advice.
Right.
And that's where you got them because now they're on your team. They're looking to you for the answer, and then you better fucking deliver. I mean, that's the reality on the other end of it. But see, each age group you're dealing with it in a very different way, right?
Right.
So whatever this age group this guy is dealing with, he's fucking it up no matter how you do it,
Yep. You're
right?
done.
You're done.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
it's
it's about respect, right? I
it's
mean,
right.
and there's different ways, like you're saying, there's different ways to get that respect
Hmm.
from differing groups, age groups specifically, but also even just sex, right? There's differing ways as well, depending on the environment. But yeah, if I had a teacher and something like that happened, oh my God, that teacher he'd be in a mental institution by the end of the year if I
World
was
of
a
hurt.
student.
Kids would just absolutely
Oh
tear
my
him, tear him
God,
apart.
I would be.
Kids
Oh,
are
bro,
brutal, dude.
listen,
Kids are
I'm not
brutal.
proud of this, but when I was in elementary school and riding the bus, my bus route was notorious. Not just because of me, but because I had a whole bunch of friends because they're from the same street, and we would just fuck with these bus drivers for hours every day because I was the first one on and then I was the last one off on the way
you
home.
see them as below you. Yeah, beneath.
Yes,
you.
just constantly. We went through like 9 in one year
Yeah.
because they just kept quitting. They couldn't take it. They couldn't take the kids constantly screwing with them. If a teacher did this in front of me, oh my god, my god.
And here's another issue. You brought up sexuality, but it comes that there's another side to that, right? Because I had mentioned with boys you never see it, right? You never see that. But with girls, you do get these girls who start getting these thoughts in their head, Prince Charming or the older guy type of thinking. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen from time to time where you get this girl who gets a crush on you, or it's just a
Right.
little baby thing. It's not serious. It's not serious, but it's a little thing. But if you don't nip that in the bud, it could become a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you take the approach I do, right, you don't have to deal with that because you can snuff that out very quickly and sensitively, gently. You don't want to be mean, right? But that position of authority I have allows me to deal with those things when they come up every few years, right? Because it's not super common, but it happens every few years or so. You get a girl who gets a little twinkle in her eye for you, right? And you have to be able to notice it and deal with it gently, right? Because it's just a little crush. It's no big deal, but you don't want them to obsess over it because that's hurting them, right? You don't
It's
want that.
unhealthy.
It's
Right.
unhealthy for them. A little bit of I like Sensei Daisuke. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know what I mean. But in the position and the character that I present to the students, it's very easy for me to manage that and deal with it very softly, and it really becomes nothing. It's a blip, right? Now this dude is putting himself in a situation that you're making it way more difficult to deal with that kind of shit. Right?
Well, maybe that's his goal. Yeah. Just saying. Maybe that's the plan here. He wants the kids to see him as available sexually.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's messed up. Like there's no. I would love to hear the justification from anybody why this stuff is appropriate in a school or around children at all.
I'm trying to use my experience to put a greater light on it.
Yeah, I just don't see how it is. It would be one hell of an argument somebody'd have to make. It would have to impress me with an argument. It would have to be like Aristotle himself popped up and just threw down some argumentation, because otherwise, no. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like when I was in school, we had like magic shows. Right, we had magicians would come in and do a magic show every now and again.
Or something like that.
Yeah, scientists or people they'd bring in like they brought in a mongoose. In my state, mongooses are illegal. Like even the zoos aren't supposed to have them. This guy had special permissions, and he brought in a mongoose, and we were just that just blew us away. None of us ever seen a mongoose.
Yeah, I remember a dude who was a former student had climbed Mount Everest, and he came back and gave us a slideshow. That's
awesome.
How about you, Grimlock? What's a good assembly show you got to see when you were a kid?
Dude, I remember when they used to take us to freaking the aquarium, or my favorite field trip was when they took us to Madison Square Garden for what was then a WWF house show.
Oh, neat.
And what the hell happened to that? How did we go from
I didn't mean field trip. I meant brought to you in the school in an assembly. I didn't mean field trip.
Well, even that, you would do I guess that it would be like the typical stuff. They would bring you the science, like the doctors or the scientists that would show you stuff. Mm-hmm. How did we go from doing science experiments and frogs and going on field trips and things like that to drag queen showtime in school?
Yeah, no, it's weird. Because the most controversial thing I remember seeing was a former San Diego Charger linebacker who had drug troubles, and he came and told us about his drug troubles and said, "Hey, kids, don't do drugs." Nancy Reagan. That was the most controversial thing I saw in school. So
exactly.
But
I don't know. I don't personally know. I don't have any kids. How we got from that sort of stuff, that sort of just basic knowledge or wholesome fun stuff, to this.
Yep.
in less than 30 years. That is a
It's
level of
crazy, dude.
degeneracy I can't even fathom.
It is insane. Well, look at this kid. This is a chubby. You know he's get trouble from the kids for being chubby. You know that
Yep.
already, right? At that age, especially, he's getting, yeah, you're fat. He's getting that already. But now you're putting him in skin tight sparkles. What, dude? You're destroying this child. He's going to have nothing but hell come at him, man. But
Extreme mental health trauma
good
going
joy,
forward.
good job, mom. Good. They just hate their sons, man. Generation
Apparently.
Drag. Here is the official trailer. Shall we watch it? Let's watch it.
Oh God.
Discovery Channel. They're all rainbowy now. Yay! Fabulous. Yes, thank you. Oh my God! I got my makeup on. Then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna shake my ass, and they gotta look at it. Oh my God! It's wonderful. That's a drag queen. Oh my God! I'm gonna do the fan. Oh Jesus, dude! Where's your father?
I think that's supposed to be him right there.
Okay, you need an ass whooping. Of course it's Tara Banks. Of course it's fucking Tara Banks, dude. Of course. Of course. Of course. And now we have female drag queens too, I've heard. Yes. Wasn't that wonderful?
Whatever that means.
No, stop it. Yeah, I don't know what that means. It doesn't make any sense. But here's the thing. Tara Banks aside, what happened to that? Because when I was young, if you got out of line, the other dudes would kick your ass and put you back in line. They wouldn't kill you, they wouldn't murder you. They just, rough you up a little bit and get you back in line. What happened to this?
It's what I was talking about earlier, but the policy is zero tolerance policies for all fighting. So now they just straight up kick anybody out, even if you're defending yourself. You're just out, which is obviously ridiculous. But yeah, it's feminization.
They did that because the rough them up and teach them a lesson did turn into a couple people getting killed.
That happens. It's collateral
damage. Let's not be obtuse.
Yeah, people get killed every day.
People die, Ben.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, sure.
Well, no, it is a useful aspect of male culture, though, for men.
Yes.
You don't rough up the ladies; you rough up each other. You keep each other in line.
Right.
But I don't know, and I get your point, Ben. I do appreciate you taking the other side of it, but I know that you don't agree with this shit. So
it's complicated.
Really?
I get the point. I get the point you guys are making. I agree with some aspects of what you guys are saying, but not all the aspects.
Of course,
I think you guys are being a little bit of
but
you're being slightly blowhards like you typically are on these things.
True.
So,
but look at RuPaul
and
here.
blowing things out of proportion.
Well, look at RuPaul, famous drag queen, right? Look at Ru right here.
Yeah.
And
right,
it's over the top. It's drag queen. Like I said, drag queen shows can be quite entertaining. I have no trouble with drag queens at all. And RuPaul is actually also can be a transvestite sometimes, not always. He usually wears a suit, but I've seen him, wearing effeminate stuff too. But when he does his drag race or his just drag queen stuff, he does like this, and this is eating over the top, but it is big and vibrant and colorful and flamboyant. It's not very sexual outside of the comedy and the body joking of it, right? Now take a look at this picture though. Take a look at this. What is drag queen about that? It's not drag queen. This is just sexualizing a child. That's not drag queen at all.
Right. I mean, so that's why I'm saying is that I agree with you partially. So I don't see it as and it really depends on the context, right? I see it as the 21st century clown, right?
Drag queen is. You're right. Yeah, it is that.
Yeah. And so I think it can be done well. I think like most things in life, it can be done well and appropriate, and then it can be done, inappropriate, right?
True.
It's like let me give you the cringy heterosexual version of this that I actually have some experience from when I was a videographer.
Mm-hmm.
when I used to be a videographer in Round Rock, Texas, we would get assignments. It was usually like, oh, go do a wedding, go do this, go do that, write a commercial.
Right.
And then there was one that my boss gave me. He was like, oh, you have to go do this. And it was the first time I ever said, like, he said, like, you have to go do it. It was mostly like, like, hey, do you want to do this one? You're like throwing me work and stuff, right? And his tone was weird. Like, he wouldn't like look me in the eye. It ended up being one of those like little Miss like universe like beauty pageants of like little girls.
Yeah.
And that was insane.
Yep.
Right.
We agree 100%
that was
with you. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So that's why like I'm in the point with you guys where I'm like, I get where you're coming from. I don't think that this is just a homosexual or an LGBTQ thing.
It's a
I think this is a
sexualization of
problem.
children. Yeah, no, I agree.
Right, and I'm happy to like be go against it or like say like we don't do it, but I don't think that this is a purely an LGBTQ problem. I think this is just a corner case of culture problem, and we see it both in the LGBTQ community and let me tell you, watching like a group of grown adults, both male and female, cheering for the Little Miss Pageant thing was the craziest, cringiest thing in my life.
It's really bad.
Yeah. And it is, and that is, I mean, they give girls like surgery, cosmetic surgery for those pageants, and they're insane. Like, in some cases, less than 10. It is insane.
It is, dude.
So, yeah. So if the contention is like people do crazy shit with their kids that they should do, and it's and the contention is it's like, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally cool with that. And that's where I'm like, this is where I get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree with you guys.
Yeah.
Well,
you probably were still swimming or something in the beginning. At the very beginning of the article, I covered the beauty pageant thing because we hate that too. It's disgusting. Stop sexualizing kids, 100%. Yeah, and it's the same thing. You have drag queen shows being dragged, put into these schools with little kids. I would be just as upset, probably even more upset, if you brought strippers in. Not that they were stripping, but just doing sexy dancing, pole dancing, or something like that. That would probably piss me off even more, because at least for the most part, most of the drag queens are doing the drag queen clown thing. But still, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. I don't really care the sexuality. That means nothing. But I do care about the little girl who's being dolled up and being sold as sex. And I equally hate as much of them dolling up the boy in the exact same way and selling him as a sexual object. It pisses me off. Now, the fact that they're taking and they're obviously forcing a boy through many years of indoctrination into doing this and basically making him becoming homosexual. There's another layer to it, I guess. But no, I can't stand any of it. It's disgusting. Stop fucking with our kids, dude. That's my take. Man, it just is ridiculous. But that picture pisses me off to the nth degree, dude. I want to bloody someone, Ben. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, it's just, I'm telling you, this particular June is going to be bad. I'm telling you. Because there's been so much pushback against this extremeness that's coming out. And then once again, we're not talking about normal homosexuals because they're just people. I'm talking about the extremeness that's being pushed. They have been pushed back on so hard recently that they're going to double down. And June is going to be insane. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad.
Well, so as the resident liberal of the group here, I will say, because I'm a bit more on the in of the community than you guys are, and I hear the conversations. There is a very large debate and discussion about concepts like kink at Pride, right? And
yeah, it's not good.
Well, and the community is pretty divided about it. There's actually some pretty heated debates going on about it, right? Because what it really comes down to is that the younger LGBT community wants to get rid of kink at Pride, right? And it's the older community is like, well, we can't do that. It's tradition. Like, we've always had kink at Pride, and like, well, yeah, but we're trying to we want to clean it up. Like, we want like the Pride to be
take it inside.
Well, Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we want Pride to be something that's approachable from like an overall perspective, and if you've got and again, I know like what you're talking about, like the open kink and stuff like that. They worry that makes it more unapproachable, which it does
It
for
does.
certain
And
communities and certain
heterosexuals
people, right?
shouldn't do it in the street either. It's unacceptable. You
No,
get
I agree.
arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
like for
so
instance,
so
you remember the monkeypox things, Ben? They came out here recently. It's stupid, but you remember here recently with it, and they came out of some weird gay fetish party they had over in Belgium, right? And people were
yeah.
going, "Oh, it's all disgusting," on and on and on about it. Dude, what they do in private, I could give a shit. I don't care what they're doing in
Right.
private. That's their business, man. But the in the street, it's an issue, dude.
No, and so that's really a conversation that's happening currently within the community. Like, and I think that's the stuff that you guys don't get exposed to as much because you're not as involved in some of those conversations that are happening within the community and stuff like that. But like, no, there's a really like legit conversation happening within the LGBT community about like
Yeah.
they're also like this is the thing that I find so ironic because like you guys will complain about like, oh god, it's coming, like everyone's going to change their icons to rainbow, like all the businesses. Like
It's
one of the things
marketing.
that the well, no, exactly, and that's the thing that the LGBT community is like really upset about as well. Is like, oh, like they're just like marketing to us, right? They're
They
like
are.
just I made the joke of capitalists are capitalizing, right?
Yep.
And so the funny thing is like in the meme channel here, like we're like I think Thunder and I, a bunch of us have been posting memes, but they're all from like the LGBT community. Like they don't trust businesses. Like they don't like want them because they know that it's this like fair weather friendship, right?
Oh, sure.
That these
Well,
businesses are only doing it because they think they can make some money from it at the time or something, right?
yeah, but it's not those people that they think they're making money from, Ben. It's people like you.
Yeah, no, that's
They're
true.
not
Me,
marketing to the
They
gay
are.
people. They're marketing to the liberals who support the gay people.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm
No,
too cheap for that. They're not making shit off of me, dude. So
no,
I'm just saying
but I get
that's what they're
Thunder's
after.
point.
They're after
I get your
that
point.
block of
And
people because the gay part is really really small, right? It's not a lot of people. The LGBT whatever community is not very big, so there's not a lot of money to be mined out of that. But there is out of the liberals that support them.
Commercial
It's a
signal,
much
right?
bigger block.
well,
Yeah.
well, now in modern times, Ben, I will bow to your experience because in my life currently, I only know 3 homosexuals, and one of them is a new half. You know what that means. So I don't have a lot of exposure these days. But in my lifetime, I guarantee you, I've been around a lot more gays than you have. I guarantee it, dude.
no, I don't believe that.
I know it,
you can. I mean, you can
dude.
think
I
that, but
was
I don't know
in the
anything wrong.
music
look at your life.
industry in New York City, dude, for
Cool.
years and years and years and years and years. I've been around a lot, and I know from those experiences with those
All right.
older gays, they are not happy with the current situation because they don't want you to look at them at all. They want to be just left alone.
Right.
A lot of
And
them do.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so, and this
Somebody
is,
in the group is fucking
is where
up.
we, get
Let's
into
just put it that
debates
way.
or within the community, right? Because, you know, it's not a monolith, right? And so it's hard to, act like you're speaking for the totality of them, right? And,
Well,
there's good.
if it's not a monolith, then maybe they should stop calling themselves the alphabet community because I'm not, that the thing gets longer every week it seems.
You
And just
guys are the
start.
ones calling them the alphabet community.
Well, yeah, but they call themselves the LGBTQ whatever it is community. Stop doing that and just refer to yourself as a person and an individual, and then you won't be. It's a much harder to lump you into a monolith if you're not putting yourself
yeah,
into
but
one.
I think the point was made that it's already been picked up by the marketers and it's out of everybody else's hands, dude. The
Well,
marketers
It's sort of
like it
like
marketing.
now.
Well,
Yeah,
it's sort of like Latinx. Like, the people in that
Latinx.
community don't actually call themselves Latinx, right? That is something largely used by like liberal white people, right?
Right. Which is kind of hilarious that they're trying to colonize the language of the brown people again.
Yeah. Now, that's true. I know they are. Now, Alan says, "What was your favorite bathhouse in New York City, Chester?" Well, here's the funny thing. I actually have been to a bathhouse before. And the interesting thing about it, I
A
know
gay
the
one?
image, yeah, but the thing is, everyone thinks it's
Uh huh.
just a bunch of gays in there. Nah, it's about 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a couple of them around here that were bathhouses slash brothels. Everybody knew it,
Yeah, sure.
and the police just kind of ignored it for decades, and eventually they eventually broke it up. But yeah, they existed around here. They probably exist everywhere if you know where to look. Um, but there is a lot of them that are they have a wide clientele. We'll put it that way. It's
Right.
not as precise as a lot of people assume.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. And I liked the sauna. It was a Turkish style one, and it was just
Yep.
a steam room, and it was quite nice. It was quite relaxing. Got all it just you felt so refreshed after you got out of it. I think the one I used to go to was on the west side of 43rd, I think.
Mhm.
Maybe further south. But I'm just saying the image of the bathhouse is once again another Hollywood trope. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
They're not 100% all gay dudes in there. They're not. It's mixed. And depending where you are in New York City, you're going to certainly get a lot more gays in a bathhouse than you would somewhere else, another bathhouse. But I never used the bath aspect of it, and I didn't even ever do the kind of the body scrubbing Turkish thing they do. I just went to the sauna, and yeah, there's gay dudes in there, sure, but there's plenty of straight dudes too.
I
A
mean,
lot of
why do you think
executives.
Chester was there? The gay dude.
That's right. I was there for the gay dudes. But I'm just saying it's a just another Hollywood trope, and this is another problem with marketing, right? Because it's Hollywood is full of shit, and they're full of
Well,
shit
Mark.
for well no for a reason though. They have 2 hours to
Yeah.
tell a story, dude, and they have to
Correct.
break things down into little understandable nuggets, and that's where all these Hollywood tropes come from. They're not insidious. It's simply
Well,
efficiency. Well, I mean, it
I
can
think
be, I
some of them
suppose,
might
but
be.
well, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's mainly efficiency for
I could
storytelling.
hear Pandero being triggered from the other side of the world when you
Correct.
said it's not malicious.
But
Um.
but it's true, right? It's
I no
just
no
No,
no I,
most
no
of
efficiency.
no
it's
you
not. Most of it's
yeah
not
yeah yeah
malicious,
yeah.
but there are some that are pervasive. I think
Sure.
I'll go to one that I bet even Ben will agree with. There was a lot of very weird representations. I hate that word because of the left, but it's what it is of black people, especially black men in Hollywood for a very long time that were clearly negative in tone, whether they were negative in intent or not. And there's, I think you could say, fairly regularly or fairly regularly, fairly that they were malicious insofar as they were pointed out and they were never even attempted to correct them for a long time. This isn't a new phenomenon at all. It happened for a very long time. I don't think it's really that way anymore. I do think there's a little bit of like tokenism still, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as it was. But I
There's
do
a little
think it
bit, yeah.
was intentional. I think it was definitely intentional. Now I think there's a lot more the other way,
The anti-white
and that's
stuff,
a
yeah,
problem.
that's there. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
seeing it. It's just the turning of a clock, I guess.
yeah,
But I think Ben's best comment he made was the marketing aspect of it, because the
yeah.
marketers have it now, and they're going to go and they're going to go. But I do want to end. I do have to end. I got to get to work. But I do want to end the show because Grimlock has been threatening me the whole damn
Uh
show
oh,
with some event that
violence.
happened that upset him. And I don't really pay attention to
Upset
the
you?
news. So what
I
is it
know it
you
would upset
saw?
you. The drag queen show in Texas where they was having kids out there tipping grown ass men.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really need someone to tell me when drag queen, which is a vaudeville act, when did it become stripper? When did that
I don't
happen?
know, but I don't know when it became just
I don't
things
think it
that
has.
It seems I've seen this reference over the past 2 months a lot, Ben. I've seen a lot of this giving money to the drag queen dancer. And I don't understand because they're completely separate things. Drag is very established on what it is. It is very vaudeville. It is very bawdy, and that's the point. It is extremely because understand, do not confuse drag queen with being a transvestite or a transgender. They are different things. Now that drag
yeah.
queen person might be those other things too, but drag is a very, very specific form of entertainment. It's not a lifestyle, it is entertainment. If your lifestyle is to dress as a woman, then you are a transvestite. They are different. It is entertainment, and it is, like I said, once again, bawdy vaudeville entertainment, and it's fun. Now, some people are offended by it, and that's fine. Don't go watch it. But I've seen many drag stuff over the years, and they're funny. They're entertaining because everyone, it's tongue in cheek. Everyone gets it. It's not serious. So, but it's
Right.
certainly not strippers where you put money in their waistband. What the hell, dude?
It's
I don't
fucked up.
know.
I think it's more like cosplayers. Like, you know how you do that thing where you go down to Hollywood and there's all the cosplayers, you take a
Sure.
picture with them and they want you to tip. I think it's more in that vein than it is in the other vein.
Yeah, but
Or at least that's the impression I get.
you have to admit you got a bunch of drag queens up dancing and twerking, doing their thing, having little boys go up and put money in their waist belt is not a good thing, Ben. It ain't good.
No, I didn't say it was.
Yeah.
No.
Because I've been
And-
hearing more and more.
and-
That's a new thing. That's new, though. That's new. I didn't see that before. I mean, it's probably been going on, but I hadn't heard about it. This is a new thing for me. But yeah, no, it's insane, and it's all over the place too. It's not just in the places you would imagine it would be. It's showing up everywhere, and they really need to stop it. They need to stop it, and I agree 100% with Ben. They need to shut those beauty pageants down because it's not
Yep.
good, dude. Those that
I
that is
agree.
disgusting what they do with those little girls. It's disgusting.
You know,
They are sexualizing
I,
the hell out of them, dude. It is not good.
I always thought that would have died off after the whole John Benet Ramsey thing,
Yeah, right?
but nah, still here, unfortunately.
You know, and they have a form of this over here in Japan that pisses me off too. They have the whole maid thing, the maido, what they call it, right? Akihabara mainly is where it's coming out of, and it's this little industry over there where you go these little maid bars, and you got these girls dressed up as maids, and they treat you like a king and like you're their slave for a short bit of time, and I guess it puffs your ego, I suppose. It's the dumbest thing in the world from my point of view, but it's a Japanese thing. Anyway, fair enough. It's an adult thing. There's no actual sex involved. It's just role playing, really. But it's adult, so fine. All right, whatever. But coming out of that, you had this dude. I can't remember his name. Maybe Ben remembers his name. But he started putting these things out there, calling AKB 48, maybe HBK 48. There's a whole bunch of them from all over. And what they did was they took these maid girls and they got the cutest ones they could find. They put them on stage and they dance around poorly and they sing little songs poorly. You'll see them on family shows, on like national shows like Red and White, and things like that. And the thing that bugs me about it. If you go to Akihabara, they look, if you see, because I've walked around there and you could see them. They're all out there trying to get you to come in there. Like the mama san's trying to get you into the soap lands. What they did with the TV ones that they show is they make them look as young as possible, and they dress them so that you have the image of them being a schoolgirl, like a junior high school girl. And it's not like the West where titties and cleavage are all over the place, but it's still extremely sexualizing girls. And even though these girls aren't necessarily that young, they're being portrayed as that young. And I hate it. I fucking hate it, dude. So
Yeah, it's fucked up.
it is fucked up, dude.
Uh,
You know
very
what
fucked up.
Ben knows what I mean. You know what I mean, Ben. The AKB stuff. I can't stand that shit, dude.
Yeah, that's a huge problem with like just some of the Japanese culture stuff in general, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole subgenre of that goes through like anime
Oh, yeah.
and all sorts of stuff. Like it's real creepy real fast.
Real
Right?
fast. Yeah, real fast. And the thing that gets me is, all right, because these girls aren't actually that age, right? But and if it was in private, or if it was more of a subculture, it would bother me less. But they put this shit on mainstream family TV right there.
Right.
And I'm like, what? You literally got 40, 50 girls dancing on stage, popping their ass left and right, in a cutie girl Japanese way. But they're basically, I'm 12, don't you want to fuck me? Ugh. That's exactly what they're fucking doing, dude. And I'm like, how
Yeah.
do the Japanese not see this? What? What are you doing? What are you doing?
No bueno.
No bueno, dude. I mean, it really pissed me off.
Wallow.
And I've complained to a few Japanese about it in open conversations and lectures and stuff. And they say, well, it's just your Westernness. You're too stuck up. You're too Christian. And I'm like, well,
Okay.
thank God.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. That's not an insult. Thank you. I guess if to be not too Christian is to be okay with the sexualization of 12-year-olds, then I will take that label. Thank you.
Yeah, now
Thank you
keep in
very
mind,
much.
these girls aren't actually 12. They're not actually that young.
I understand, but
Yeah.
it's still that's what's happening. Even
It
if they're
is what's
trying to
happening.
make them
It is what's happening.
look that young for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not accidental.
Because they do the
Yeah.
little Japanese thing where the girls bend over and put their hands on their knees, and they kind of will slightly twist their ass left to right. You know, the little "come fuck me"
Yeah.
move that girls will do. And we've all seen
Yeah.
girls do this, whether it was for you or not. I apologize for all those you haven't had that experience, but because it is nice. It is nice when you're at the party, right? Back when I was young, we were at the party, and the girl literally does that subtle little bend over, and she literally just moves her ass to the right a little bit or something, and she's looking
Yep.
right at you, and she's, oh yeah, baby, oh yeah.
Not the family union.
Well,
the
yeah,
party.
but she's not a child
Be
either.
very
and
clear.
She's not dressed like one either. But I mean, because that's another thing. I think we don't get into dating stuff here much. We more talk about this kind of outrage culture on both sides. I think we agree. We don't like it either way. But we don't talk about dating culture very much. And the thing with I think a lot of dudes don't understand about women, they're not good. It's very rare that a girl will come up and tell you, "Hey, I like you." That's not what
Yeah.
they do. It's very, very rare to get a girl so bold. They give subtle clues that you have to pay attention. They'll make eye contact and keep it, right? They'll do little things, the way they'll move their body or move their hair, or they'll all of a sudden you see that they're closer to you more often than not. This is how women do. This is how they give off signals. It's not like a dude will go up and say, "Hey, you want to go get coffee?" Right? They don't do like that. They're subtle,
Mhm.
and it's all little eye contacts and little things like that. And I think a lot of dudes don't get that. And the guys who are more successful at dating, I think, the ones who catch it, right? But I'm telling you, if that girl gives you that little ass lifting and little lift to the right or the left, and the eye contact, oh my god, dude, oh my god, those are good days. That's a good time. It's good days.
If
You're
you
in
can
for
make a
you're in for a good time. Yeah.
if you can make a woman laugh and she touches you while she's laughing,
Oh
then
God, yes.
you're
in.
you're good. You're
You're
solid.
in.
You're
Yes.
winning. You're
You are
winning,
winning.
son.
You are. But I mean, you
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
difference though. This is an adult woman, and my image is particularly a very specific girl, a redhead. Whew. And she was wearing tight ass jeans. Those things were painted the fuck on, Thundero. But
I like that.
that's a
That's
very
good.
different early 20s experience than having a girl they're desperately trying to make her look 12 and she's doing the same thing. That pisses you
Yeah,
off.
that's
It's
weird.
like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Get out of here. Stop that.
That's the male protector
Yeah,
blood in me. That's like, nah, that's not right. That's
yeah. I mean,
no.
leave them
No, no.
alone. At least let their tits come in. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, no. You shan't be doing that.
No.
Is the answer to that?
Now I know.
You don't even need a debate. 12. You look 12? No.
No.
The answer's
Stop
no.
it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Now
Done.
I understand the response Ben's going to give me because I can hear it already. There's a lot of girls who the breasts never grow in here. I get it, Ben. Stop with your racism.
I feel very inappropriately targeted, especially considering my preferences in life.
Anyway,
I've only ever been with large-breasted women, so I don't know anything about small tits.
Well, I actually prefer a sportier build on a girl.
Oh, I like them ridiculous. I like them obscene, Chester.
I'm a
Just
B. I like
obnoxious
B,
big.
C. I like that. I married a D though.
That's good. That's a smart man.
But I
A
do
man of
prefer
culture.
the BD. I just think it's sexier, but that's preference. But that has nothing to do with kids. That's an
No.
adult conversation,
No.
right?
That's right.
So anyway, I know Ben. He's a triple G guy.
See, you'd think Ben and I would get along better because he's a man of culture like me.
Hey, what are you talking about? Thundero, considering our vastly different political opinions, we get along just fine.
No, sure you do,
I know.
yeah, because it's all done in fun.
Yeah.
But how about you, Grimlock? We're going to end the show on your favorite breast cup size. I'm a BC. These guys are triple J's. What about you?
I'm in that B to D range. You know,
Yeah, normal.
just,
Yeah.
as long as you ain't flat, I can work with you.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of girls who were basically flat that could still work it, but it's rough, dude.
Yeah,
That's tough. It's tough.
they got to be
Uh,
real fit. They got to be real
yeah,
fit.
I've seen girls who
You
Unfortunately.
can
gotta,
work it
you
though.
gotta
I
have
have seen girls who can do it, but it's
you
tough.
ain't got
It's
no titties. You gotta have a fat ass. You just can't come in there.
Yeah, see, I don't like the fat ass. What's up with the black dudes and the fat ass, Grimlock? Tell
No,
me
it ain't
about
just the
this.
black dudes. No, wait a minute.
No,
Don't
these
discriminate
people.
against me.
No,
Have you
bullshit.
seen? Have you
You're
seen Australian
cosplaying as a
women?
black man. Stop it,
Have you
Grimlock.
seen Australian women?
I mean, I got to side with my brothers here, Thundero and Grimlock. I'm on their side, dude.
No,
So
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like me no
you're,
fat boy. I like a nice athletic
you're flying
ass.
solo on this one, Chet.
No, a nice athletic ass is good, but a bubble butt, a big
Listen.
old fat cottage cheese bubble butt, fuck off.
No, not cottage cheese. No. We got to show Chester Brazilians, I think. He needs to
Yeah,
see some
yeah.
Brazilian
Dude,
booty
you
and
stay
understand.
away from
No,
me with a
Ben,
goddamn
Ben's got
wax.
experience. Show him some of them Australian white women. They got ass. I don't know if it's the Vegemite
I
or
like
whatever the
an
fuck they
athletic
eat
ass.
down
Don't
there,
get me
but
wrong, but I'm talking about the bubble butts.
Athletic cat. First he's talking about his time in bathhouses. Now he's talking about he likes athletic masculine ass.
No,
I don't know, man.
bullshit.
Chester, are you,
I
You know
mean,
what I
telling
mean.
us
The
things
Clearly,
like
that
Pilates
what you're
ass.
trying to
The
tell us here,
Pilates ass.
Thundero.
Anyway, I really got to go to
Uh-huh.
work. Damn it.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you guys all very much. That was fun. We had a good. We had some fun in there too. You missed. Well, we were talking about the top 10 Star Wars spaceships. Ben, you missed that. That was fun. And the new Final Fantasy is coming
No.
out too. But so we did
Yep.
have some fun conversations too, and a couple little serious ones. That's okay. Tomorrow we have comic books, and we're going to. I'm going to do another spotlight, and we have great, fantastic, awesome news coming out of comic books. So we're going to have a couple of fun articles tomorrow. Other than that, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Grimlock. Thank you, Thundero, for coming in. Thank you to all the chat. We do love you guys, and we have ourselves a lot of fun. But Thundero, take us the hell out of here, man.
I'm going to take us out of here real quick, real easy, Chester. It's one I actually heard or I read on Twitter of all places. Twitter with some knowledge dropping on you. You're only ever as strong as your willingness to surrender.
Ooh, that's fair. Namaste. Later, everybody.